I will call the meeting to order, just a couple of minutes past 7. And the first item on the agenda is additions and deletions to the agenda, and I think we may have a little activity.
We do.
All right, I'll let you go first,
Okay.
and go ahead.
So first, for additions and deletions, we have the bid award for the connector road. We did the whole bidding process, and we have one bid to look at this evening. Tyler Billingsley is here to discuss that. So if you want to.
The little connector road from the police department to the neighborhood. And any other additions and deletions? Aaron?
I would like to add an executive session to update the full select board on the town administrator search committee process. We met earlier today, and I'd like to add that.
And you feel it meets the requirements for executive session in this case?
Yes.
Okay, so we could maybe look at doing that toward the end, maybe at Select Board
At the
Forum.
end, yep.
Yeah?
That'd be fine.
Does that sound okay with everybody? So with that, Tyler, do you want to fill us in on we're calling it the Connector Road?
Yeah,
bid?
Farmall Drive
Okay.
Connector Road for now. So like Renee said, we invited 6 different contractors to do the bid. 4 showed up to the mandatory pre-bid. All were very busy. It's a tough time to bid a project right in the middle of the summer. And we kind of cherry-picked all good qualified contractors. So they were all busy. We got one bid back from DeBishop Excavating, who's down on 116 in Middlebury. Usually what I do is put a bid tabulation together to compare contractor A, B, and C to make sure they're not way out of whack. Very hard to do with one. So I put together a cost estimate for the work based on the quantities on the Otter Creek drawings. And then I used unit prices based on the VTrans 2-year average list. They basically take all these projects throughout the state, compile all the numbers, and spit out a spreadsheet. So things like linear feet of curb and sidewalk and pavement. I used those along with some projects I bid earlier this year to kind of mash the two together to get a good conservative estimate. And once I tally up all the numbers, I basically stick on a fudge factor at the end of 20% just for whatever. So with that number, I came pretty close to what DeBishop Excavating had. So it's, I think it is a fair price. He didn't know he was the only bidder, so he bid as if he was going against someone else. His number was, total number was $127,760. So, and I know you guys are looking to get that project done sooner rather than later, so I hedged my bets and worked up the contracts with DeBishop Excavating in there. The way I usually do it is I take the bid documents and keep them exactly the same, but insert any changes that happen during the bid process and also insert DeBishop's information and his bid and that type of thing. So I work up 3 different contracts, one original for you guys, one original for DeBishop, and one for me. And that kind of gets the ball rolling. His estimated start date is somewhere in mid to late August, and they've got a 30-day window to get the road open and traveling, along with the sidewalk and all the other. There's a bunch of miscellaneous improvements, some drainage, some water main, the conduit for the electric charging station, that kind of stuff. So a road would be open to the public come late September. So I have them here if you guys want to see them, want to review them, if you guys are comfortable signing. They've got the signature pages tabbed and ready to go. And I talked to Matt DeBishop and said that I was coming here tonight and he could sign them either later this week if you guys sign them tonight, or wait to the next select board meeting 2 weeks from now.
So I imagine, you use the common cost per linear foot and all that, but this is a fairly short road.
Right.
And so you've got all the costs associated with, coming on site and doing all that, and then just a fairly short.
Yeah, so I take a lot of those, like you said, the VTrans costs, sometimes they're for jobs that have 3 miles of concrete sidewalk on, so your unit price goes down because your quantity goes up. So on things like that, I basically comfortably bump my number up to kind of use your best guess to match, real conditions. And, I think there's a little bit of premium just because it's being bid peak summer when everyone's busy. So, if this was bid in middle of December when everyone's hungry, I think you'd get a different price than bidding it in mid-July. But it is what it is, and we got a good number that from a good contractor, so that's kind of where we are.
All right, any comments from the board?
Do you have familiarity with this, or do you have references on there?
Yep, yeah. I worked for Otter Creek Engineering for years, and he did a handful of projects when they were the engineer and did a very good job. Barnard and Jarvis, who's here in town, they've done a number of jobs with him. I talked to Jason Barnard today and said that Matt's a fantastic guy. Matt actually did my house foundation and driveway, and I'd never worked with him before that, and he was excellent. He was very fair. If something unforeseen came up, his quality of work was excellent. So I think he's in the same league as the other contractors we kind of reached out to at first, the 6 we picked.
And will you be serving as a supervisor inspecting the work as it goes on, or what's your role in the project?
So my contract with the town now is to basically oversee all the construction administration for the project, all the submittals that come in, if there's any questions from the contractor, the pay requisitions to make sure they're fair and reflecting the work they've done. And the other part of it is to have on-site observation or inspection during the work that's there. So it's, I usually do it where if they're just getting started up for the day or doing some cleanup or putting in silt fence, you guys don't need to pay for a full-time inspector for that. If they're doing the stuff that you really don't want to undo, compaction under the road, paving, that type of thing, that would be more like a full-time role.
There is one thing I'm sorry to notice about it, but that we're going to lose a couple trees that could have been, well, they probably couldn't have been transplanted. They were too big. I think you probably had spoken with the tree warden about transplanting them earlier, or...
I didn't do
Okay.
any of the design work for it. It
Okay.
was all done by Otter Creek, and then kind of
Yeah.
transferred to me to do the more construction role. So I tried not to Monday morning quarterback all
Yeah.
the design things they did.
Okay.
We did have a couple minor changes to the design plans, I think, to make it better, all in
Okay.
all. That wasn't one of them, but we can certainly look at it.
Well, I don't think it's, I think we had already resolved
Okay.
that that was going to have to
And
happen.
Matt can try. It's funny, Matt, in my yard, he had to put a sewer line right through probably an 8-inch maple, and he took a big excavator, scooped it out, put it to the side, and replanted it, and it's still alive.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's a great year to try it.
Those are
because-
bigger trees.
Well, because the trees are just so healthy from
Yeah,
so much
they're nice
water.
trees down there. I can ask Matt if he's willing to give it a scoop and a try again to see if it can't hurt.
Yeah. Probably be good to just check with the tree warden
Okay.
first, yeah.
Any other questions or thoughts by the board?
Now, well, the conduit is going in for the charging station, but are we obligated to put the charging station in?
I don't believe so. I think
Okay.
we're just, the conduit is where
So
the town's.
one of the things we slightly changed on the design plans was the routing of the conduit where it terminates. On the design plans, it showed stopping back beyond the sidewalk. So where if you had put a charging station in there, you've got to run your cables over the sidewalk to the car. So I moved it to the face of the curb and sidewalk, and then it kind of caps on the back end of the police station. Frank was a little surprised that that charging station was being routed to the electric service of the police station, not the old police station. So that's something we can move around if it should be going somewhere else.
I think it's a municipal parking lot.
So
Yeah.
municipal charging station,
Yeah.
Yeah.
municipal service, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now it just has 2 caps on it.
Okay.
And again, what was the price of the bid?
The price of the bid was,
Oh, I got it here, never mind. 127,760.
yep, and I've got, I always work up a kind of a letter of recommendation to award along with the numbers that come in. And I also have my cost estimate stuck onto here, and this is for you guys, just for your records.
Okay. Mike, do you have any comments on it, or you're good to go? Okay.
As long as I don't have to do it, I'm good.
Do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to award the bid for Farmall Drive Connector Road from 116 to Farmall Drive to Matt
Bishop Excavating.
Bishop Excavating
Yep.
for $127,760.
760.
So I've got the 3 contracts here. They all have a tab where they're supposed to be signed. And then there's also a section for kind of a witness to sign below.
Okay,
Who wants them?
we'll take them here. Does the select board have to sign that, or can you sign it? Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, if it passes, assuming. Just a sort of reminder that in this process of selling the old police station, A good amount of those funds will help cover these costs, but not completely. But either way, the town was on the hook to put this road in as part of the Act 250 from several years ago around Lot 1. So now the road gets put in, and the majority of it's reimbursed through the selling of the old police station. Any other comments?
It was a requirement of the Act 250 permit for the new police station.
Okay, thank you for that correction. Mike,
Just a quick question.
you should use the mic maybe, or make sure we can hear you. Oh, you're good.
Just a quick question. Was the documents reviewed by legal, the contracts? Which is a typical question that.
Not this one, no, not for the bid, not the bid itself.
Okay.
So the contracts, if it's any better, is I use EJCDC documents, which is Engineers Joint Contract Document Council, and they're legal documents published by American Society of Civil Engineers, for what it's worth.
It's fine. We always talk about having it reviewed. That's all.
Okay, any other comments of the board? So we have a motion to, oh, do we have a second?
I'll second that one.
Okay. Any other thoughts? So we have a motion to award the bid of $127,760 for the connector road. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and none opposed, so the motion passed. Thank you, so we'll,
And then I do have one question as.
Oh, go ahead.
Communication to the new, or the old police station folks, and, 'cause of course, they're stakeholder in this, and how all that plays out, and how they'll know what's going on with this, and,
Yeah.
you know, et cetera, et cetera.
So I've been communicating with them regularly, so they'll, now that we have the bid awarded, so they'll know, they agreed to this. This is actually a month later than we had originally scheduled. They agreed to that. We found alternative parking, temporary parking for their customers, so now I can reach out to them tomorrow and let them know that this will be continuing as planned.
They should be
Great.
happy.
thank you. Thanks, Tom. Next item on the agenda is consider appointments to the CCRPC boards and committees. We had a discussion at our last board meeting. We had, at that time, officially 2 applicants, Mike Bissonette and Andrea Morganti for the, for the position, and none at that time for the alternate position. And do we have, there are 2 other positions open, one for the water quality and one for the transportation. And Marilee, were you,
I had expressed interest in the water quality.
okay, so I guess that's a applicant for that position. Did we get any other applicants?
The only applicant we had was Mike Bissonette for the
Okay.
CCRPC.
So we had a discussion about it, I think last time, Michael, you talked, and Andrea, you spoke. And then at that time, we wanted to really get word out for potential others who might be interested to make sure it was well advertised. And so, I don't know, Michael, do you have any other additional comments you'd like to make?
No, I would like to, as you know, I would like to bring a different perspective to the Regional Planning Commission. So I don't want to sit here.
Okay,
rude to
yeah,
Andrea. That's not my
fair
goal
enough,
here.
yeah.
My goal is just to show them a different type of person, and that my views would be different, and probably supportive in different areas,
Okay,
as well as the current ones.
so I'd entertain a motion for the first position, the board, CCRPC board, I guess that's the official name,
The representative.
representative.
Alex, where's Alex on this? Does he also wanna-
What is his opinion?
No. Was he also in the mix here for one of these seats?
And he was currently the alternate on the clean water one, and he wanted to, he
And
was fine
stay-
to remain, he just wanted to remain as
Remains,
alternate.
yeah.
Who's that?
Alex,
Alex.
as an alternate on the
Okay.
Clean Water Advisory Committee.
Marilee?
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Andrea to be on the board of the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, as she has done it in the past, and she's done a fine job.
All right, is there a second? Well,
It's a tough one,
Yeah.
because like Michael, I don't want to say anything negative about Andrea. I'm sure she does a fine job. She absolutely puts in a lot of time. Andrea's got a lot of irons in the fire. And, I don't, it's hard for me to say what a good job is at the CCRPC, because I don't really know that much about it, to be honest with everybody. And one thing that I would like to see happen with regard to it, and no matter who is appointed tonight, is I would like the select board to have a little bit more say as to what the goals of Hinesburg are through our representative. Because I don't ever remember seeing anything, we see what's happened, but we don't see what the goals are. And as I understand it, there's a list of, 20 or so projects that come up every year, or however often it is. And as far as I know, the only person that has any input on that is the representative, and not the select board. So that does concern me a little bit, that through all these years, we've never heard anything about it.
Well, I guess I'd like to speak to that because Alex, every year, comes to the select board and presents the projects that he would like to include on what's called the UPWP, that is direct assistance to the town of Hinesburg. And that's what we put in our budget to be the matching funds to do that. I think when there are projects that the select board has requested that we do, I bring those, and Alex brings those, and our town administrator in the past has brought those projects forward to both the staff and the board of things that we in Hinesburg have collectively had our priorities that have been outlined in our town plan. So we've had, we've outlined in our town plan that we want to be working on stormwater. The Regional Planning Commission has included that in their budget, so that we've gotten funding from the Regional Planning Commission to do the stormwater studies that we've done in the village. We have made it aware to the Regional Planning Commission and Greater Burlington Industrial Corporation, who we partner with in developing the CEDS, which is the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, that we are in need of funding for our water and our wastewater treatment plants. So we are on this list, which is for federal funding, which, I think that the projects that the Select Board and the Planning Commission have, and even the Trails Committee have suggested that we incorporate, have made it forward to the Regional Planning Commission. I think, I would be glad to give a more formal report, but pretty much all the communication from the Regional Planning Commission does go to our town administrator, and I'm copied on it. So I just wanted to point out that there are many projects which Hinesburg has benefited from participation. And because I think we do have a clear town plan, and the Select Board has been clear on what projects we want to move forward on.
So we have a motion, and I'm willing to put, to second that motion for Andrea. I think, you know, I feel the representation's been very good, the experience is there. The idea that the board, you know, would ask for more communication, I think is a reasonable request, and that could be done through Andrea, the town administrator, and, you know, we do get reports from the Regional Planning Commission, at least the regular emails, I get them, so we can become more informed. And there is an alternate position open that could, you know, could also help to bring town position to the board, so.
Yes, I would say that the alternate position is an important position because when the representative can't attend, that person is there so that Hinesburg is at the table. But also that we, on the board, we really want to encourage our alternates to be on one of the other subcommittees, so that not necessarily the ones that are listed here, but there are other subcommittees that really helps board members become familiar with the inner workings of the Regional Planning Commission. And I would welcome Michael or anybody to be an alternate and participate in the Regional Planning Commission.
Okay, did you have something?
So as I see this here, it's a real opportunity. We have two people who have stepped forward to do this enormous job of regional planning. And what I heard when the two of you were talking is a real emphasis on water, wastewater quality, infrastructure regarding those sorts of resources. And from Michael, I heard not as much emphasis on other important elements to do with regional planning. You mentioned housing, you mentioned economic development, you mentioned infrastructure as it pertains to roads, perhaps even emergency management in some ways that we're going to talk about later tonight. I think this is a real opportunity in that for maybe the first time, I don't know, we have two people who can be really engaged in this, and really what we're talking about is not whether or not these two voices will be representing us on this committee, on this board, because it sounds like both of you want to be there, and both of you are going to participate in whether it's an alternate or a non-alternate role. I think that we have a win here, that the difference between the alternate and the not alternate position is less significant, but rather more the work that the individual wants to put into representing the town. Am I missing something here? Is that correct?
That would be the question I would have for Andrea, is how would you utilize an alternate?
Well, the alternate is asked to be on committees, and therefore you serve and develop policies that are then brought to the board, and work with staff, and read the reports, work with the consultants, and
'Cause this is very much a very deep policy kind of a job.
yes.
Well, there's the budget involved too.
What?
There's the supporting the budget involved too.
There is a budget, but the budget is
Or staff.
separate. There is a committee that's a role that the alternate can be on. Is on. It's on the UPWP committee. Is the budget for the Regional Planning Commission. The majority of that budget comes from federal dollars. The majority is spent on federal transportation dollars. And that is a committee that meets every year, several meetings. We review all the projects. And
How would you utilize an alternate?
you could be on that committee.
Be supportive?
I would be supportive of you being on that committee,
I
for
would be the
sure.
alternate.
Yeah, the way I see it is there's more to bite off here than just one individual can chew on here. There's a lot. You know, from my observation and readings on it, and from what you've told us over the years, I know there's a lot to it. And so I would be happy with both of you doing our work And I would encourage, you know, if you have,
Then I would withdraw my name, and I'll do the alternate. That's fine.
thank you.
So with that said, can I make a friendly amendment to include Michael as the alternate in the motion? Do we need two separate motions?
Okay, so now the motion is to appoint Andrea as the representative and Mike Bissonette as the alternate representative, and I'm okay with that too. Is there? And I
As the
seconded
second, yeah.
as the second,
Yep.
yeah. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye?
Aye. None opposed? Now we have,
I'm abstaining.
yes, and one abstain.
Thank you, Andrea.
Abstention.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Michael.
Thank you. We do have one other, well, I guess, two other positions. One, Mary Lee is asking to represent the Clean Water Board on the Regional Planning Commission. Any discussion, or is there a motion?
I'll make that.
You might want to mention what time it meets, these two committees meets.
I'm sorry?
You might want to mention that what time these two committees meet, just so other people will know.
Do you know what time they meet?
I think they might meet on Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
The Clean Water Advisory Committee, but I do think that... Right. But I do
Okay.
think that as new people are being appointed, that is
They have a
something that
choice, yeah.
the committee can decide. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, what's
So I'm making the motion to appoint Mary to the, is it called the Clean Water Committee, Renee?
Water Advisory.
Clean Water Advisory Committee as part of the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any more discussion?
Do you know what you're getting yourself into, Mary?
No, but I am interested in water, and I'm doing everything I can to get more knowledgeable about the water issues in Vermont.
So it sounds like Alex has already been appointed as the alternate, is that
You
correct?
can make that appointment now. He's expressed interest in being
I'll
reappointed.
amend my motion to include Alex as the alternate to that same committee. And then, and there's the second.
So the motion
And
is
so check in with
Mary
Alex,
Lee
I guess.
as the representative, Alex as the alternate for the Clean Water Advisory Committee at the Chittenden CCRPC. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
And
One
I abstain.
abstention. And the motion's passed.
Can I-
Thank you.
Can I ask Renee, 2-year, 3-year, 4-year lifetime? What?
It-
And
yeah.
do we need to add that to the motion as I'm thinking about that after the fact?
Yes, you probably should add that to the motion. So it should read the same as in your June 8th
Okay,
agenda.
2-year
Yeah.
plans. Yep.
Yeah.
So add that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I make a comment on that Transportation Advisory
Yes,
Committee?
please.
Okay. So typically, that position is represented by Public Works Director, Town Manager, Town Administrator, sometimes road foreman go. I think probably Mike doesn't really want to do that, but I think that I think we can certainly appoint him and appoint him as an alternate, or or I would be supportive of that. I think mostly it's not as important a role for Hinesburg on that Transportation Advisory Committee as the Clean Water one will be, because we are more going to be impacted by these new road standards and stuff so there'll be some interface between the Transportation Advisory Committee and the Clean Water Advisory Committee. So I think as we move forward with our town administrator search and hire, that we may want to revisit it and make that appointment. And,
Should we leave the position
and,
empty currently?
and maybe we can leave the position empty. I mean, I think on paper, it's been the town administrator.
Right.
So we can,
Yeah, and I don't believe we've had an alternate name, so it's been
Right.
vacant all along, but
Yeah.
the town administrator
Yeah.
has been served as the rep
So-
in the past.
but I think we can leave it vacant for now.
But
And
we
can
should bring it
communicate
up
to the
as-
Regional Planning Commission that we're in transition.
Yeah.
And we will make that appointment as soon as we have the appropriate person to fill that position.
Thank you. All right, the next item is a short presentation on the capabilities of the Vermont Alert System, and Randy Bronson is
sorry.
here from Emergency Management and Homeland Security, and you'll give us a little presentation on what it means and what our steps might be.
I'm Randy Bronson, I work for
Might need a microphone. This is so the audience at home watching on TV can hear you.
Good. I work for Vermont Emergency Management. We used to be called Emergency Management Homeland Security. It's now Vermont Emergency Management, as it was back a few years ago. This is Vermont Alert. It's a statewide notification system. I'm the administrator for the entire state for VT Alert. Most recently in Hinesburg, you probably received it, a public alert if you've signed up on the public side for the water issue that you had going on. We did issue one months back on a horse that was missing, and I think there was one other one that we issued for Al Barber. It's a very powerful system. We have approximately 21,000 people statewide that have signed up free of charge to receive these notifications, and there's cards on the front desk or table. We also have about 20,000 people that are in internal notification groups that we can also notify, and they range from anything from towns that have water systems where the water users of those communities are built into notification groups, so if you had a water outage, we could notify you, or your town can notify you. Why VT Alert? We want to make sure the general public knows what's going on. If there's a National Weather Service event, if Amber Alert, if there's a hazmat event, fire, law enforcement, we can notify the general public. We use VT Alert to open our Emergency Operations Center. We let our state support functions know that we're activated. Most recently this past weekend with the flooding that went on, we notified a lot of people statewide. We can alert affected areas, city and town boundaries, so our office can notify through reverse 911 every one of your residents that have hardwire telephones. It's out of the 911 registered numbers. We can also do cellular proximity notifications, so if 116 was shut down, you had a major hazmat event and you needed to notify people coming up 116 or coming down from Burlington, we could do a cellular notification where, regardless of whether you've signed up, your cell phones will go off and let you know that there's a severe emergency going on. These are 4 things that VT Alert. Proven reliability. We partner with the state of New York. New York has a similar system called NY Alert. When they had the breach at the Dannemora prison, when they had the escape, they used the NY Alert equivalent of this to notify the residents around Dannemora prison that there was an escape and lock your doors, and it was good public notification. But proven reliability, it's online approximately 99.97% of the time, so you'll never know if it goes down. Robust connectivity, there's redundant servers that we're able to log into, so that keeps the system up. You'll never know when it's down. Economically feasible for the town of Hinesburg, if you elect to adopt the use of VT Alert, it's free of charge to your community as long as you use it in a public safety stovepiped notification process. You can't use it to warn residents of a barbecue, but if you had the Hinesburg parade, You could use the system to notify that Route 116 is going to be closed down for 4 hours. These are the alternate routes around the parade route, so you could use it for that. Information security, it has a secured login. It's, if you've got Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, Safari on smartphones and Apple products, you go in, you log in, it's a username, password protected. This is the state of New York. The average monthly notifications that they send out using their system is approximately 2 million emails go out a month. Text messages, 834,000 get sent out every month with this system. We're considerably lower, but there's 2 sections to it, public broadcasts and targeted messages. And what the targeted messages are the internal notifications that you would send out for the staff of Hinesburg, the Public Works. The fire department could have a small notification group of all the responders where you could send out a notification. The public broadcast gets sent, we can hit, if you've signed up on the public side, we can hit emails, up to 5 emails. We can hit cell phones, text messages, fax calls. We can dial direct into your house if you've signed up and given us those connection points. So the general public would sign up free of charge to receive National Weather Service or any type of an alert that they want. It could be 24/7, 7 days a week, or you can only receive these 6 in the morning to 6 at night, and you can shut it off on weekends. If you're in California and you haven't turned this off to receive, your cell phone will go off in California to let you know something's going on in Vermont. Authorized notifiers, that would be who the town of Hinesburg have identified that can send out a notification on behalf of your town. Usually you identify 5 to 10 people, like your emergency management director for the town would be one, town administrator would be another, fire chief probably would be on there, public works would probably be on there, and also your law enforcement would have a key person that would be able to notify. These are some of the distribution channels that we can reach with VT Alert, alphanumeric pagers, the reverse 911 phone numbers. The only thing that the 911 board doesn't control are the voice over internet protocol numbers. So if you're on Comcast, that's a VoIP number, and the 911 board doesn't regulate that number. Even though when you dial 911, Williston will know where you are because there's a third-party vendor that identifies your location based on your address. We can reach emails, fax, the federal iPOS systems, 4:30 in the afternoon on Comcast, you're home, and there's an EAS broadcast that comes across the screen. That's done through the federal system. We send a message out, it comes back in and hits TV, radio, and also the cellular mobile alerting. Mass dialer is what dials your actual phone, hardwire phone or cell phone. It'll do SMS standard texting and MMS texting, which is the graphics. So example would be if you see a suspicious car going back and forth in front of the school, and it's been doing it for a number of hours, somebody that has notification capability can take a picture of that car and actually send it out to a group within Hinesburg to be aware of this car. It's suspicious. You can notify law enforcement that way. It'll do RSS feeds and Twitter, and it also posts to the vtalert.gov website. So if you want to see what this looks like, go to www.vtalert.gov, and you'll be able to see what a typical posting will be. This slide, we just talked about distribution channels, but the key point is up in the right-hand corner where it says life safety. So if you've signed up on the public side, all you want is National Weather Service alerts, and it's a law enforcement action, it's an Amber Alert. We can override any of your settings and get that message to you. So that's really the key piece of that one. The iPOS CMAS, I don't know if any of you were in Montpelier 3 or 4 months ago and when they had the get-together. We did a CMAS notification to the cellular notification because the off-ramp and the on-ramp going into Montpelier was shut down. So we sent the message out to every cell phone that was within basically Washington County, so they would know that they couldn't get off the exit or come back on. Amber alerts. A year and a half ago, there was an active Amber alert that took place, and about 1:30 in the morning, your cell phones probably went off. That was done through that cellular alerting. Internal notification groups, the key thing about that, you hit the same distribution channels, but you have the ability to ask up to 4 questions. So if you were opening up for the town of Hinesburg your emergency operations center for flooding or a major event, the first question could be, please acknowledge receipt of this notification. The second could be, can you provide first shift coverage at the emergency operations center? Third question could be, if you can't provide first shift coverage, can you provide second shift coverage? And you'll get the responses back from the people that you notify. This just shows a map of Vermont, and where it's highlighted down in Windham and Bennington counties, every little red dot represents some level of an alert that's been broadcast to the general public. If you go to vtalert.gov right now, you can actually look at the map and see if there's anything active statewide. Each one of those red dots would represent some level of an alert. We can do targeted notification based on geographic boundaries. We can do radiuses. We can go inundation paths up and down rivers, where we could do a half mile on either side if you're subjected to flooding. What I did here, I just went to Google and did a screenshot of Silver Street and 116. So if there was an incident on that intersection, we would be able to do a boundary, a circle around that. Our office could do it and notify people in that area. Your town notifiers could do the same thing for everybody that is signed up to receive VT alerts. I went a little further down and went down basically where the fire department is, and just to show you that we can do a larger notification area. And certainly with the 2 schools in close proximity, if you have a hazmat event, a rollover, that you want to be able to notify people. So one of your notification groups, internal, could be all of your response people for the town of Hinesburg, key people up at the high school, key people at the graded school. These are examples of notification groups that you could build. Mutual aid response organizations, so for the fire department, any fire department that would come into Hinesburg under mutual aid, you could have a key notification group that has people from Bristol, Starksboro, Shelburne, have these people in a group that would automatically get notified. Your town of Hinesburg staff could all be notified with an internal group. What I did here was just go out with a radius to show you that if people had signed up in that area for VT Alert, we could actually send a notification to those folks that have signed up in that circle area. And based on some data that I ran, 911-wise, which would be the entire town of Hinesburg geographic boundary, we would be able to dial 2,040 911 numbers. I don't know how that represents with the town population, but that is what the 911 board shows for Hinesburg. Emails, we would hit 893 emails. We would dial 308 other telephones for people that have signed up, and then text messaging 522. If you took a real close look at the text messaging and email, you'll see that there are a lot of people in the state of Vermont that want to know what's going on everywhere. So you may have somebody that comes up to Hinesburg quite often, but may live in Rutland, may live in Bennington, and so they want to know what's going on, and they'll sign up to receive for the town of Hinesburg. Simple ICS chart shows basically you could build a group, a notification group based on anything. The key thing on this slide is that we can hit a lot of different mediums. The neat one is down at the bottom, Xbox 360. So video games. If you've got a Nintendo or you've got an Xbox signed up with an email address, and that's registered within VT Alert, we can actually send an alert to the TV. So your grandchild or child could be playing a game, and all of a sudden the alert will come up on the screen. The one slide here is the second slide on the left, on the bottom. iPause aggregator. This is how the president can reach every person in the country if there was a state of emergency. These aggregators are all over the country, and the whole purpose is to be able to get a message back into Vermont, EAS-wise, but they allow us to use that process as well. VTalert.gov, you go to the website, this is kind of what it looks like. You've got alerts down one side, press releases down another. If you sign up for Hinesburg, you're going to be able to send alerts to the general public, to internal notification groups. You're going to be able to issue press releases as well. So if you had a water outage, you could do a press release, a boil water notice, and it would be posted on the website, plus sent out. You may have media built into a distribution group. If you had a water outage, you could put them into the notification group within VT Alert, and they'll automatically know that you've got a water issue. This shows some of the areas that we've been working with statewide. We have approximately 100 organizations. That includes town governments, select nonprofits, some of the mental health nonprofits we have built into this notification group. We have a lot of state agencies. Recently, I think it was last Thursday, maybe the Thursday before, the Attorney General's office did a press release on the use of VT Alert for scam alerts. They're going to use VT Alert to notify the general public if there's a phone scam going on or any other type. So this slide is kind of getting to the end. It's just a basic, the initial presentations right now. I know it's quick, but Hinesburg will decide whether or not you want to adopt the use of VT Alert. When you do, you'll send in a letter very similar to the template that I gave you, identifying who your notifiers are going to be. I will work with you. I will build the town of Hinesburg infrastructure within VT Alert. You know, right now, if I was going to do a demo, you'll see I just grabbed your town of Hinesburg emblem, and so when that goes out, that would show town of Hinesburg. I'll work with you to develop your internal notification groups, templates, which the templates could be anything from hazmat events to water system outages to anything, and I'll help you do that. And then I'll come down and do an 1.5 to 2 hour training for your notifiers. And there's the addressing. I think the letter that I showed you for the town of Castleton, and maybe the one I emailed you was, it may have showed Rob Shell as the contact point, but it should be either Jason Goslin or myself. And for those that go to Bristol a lot, Brett LaRose is the fire chief down there. He works out of our office. Be glad to work with you. I'll let you decide. As I said, it's free of charge.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any specific questions for Randy? Andrea, yes?
How is this funded?
Federally funded. Yeah.
Through Homeland Security?
Through FEMA EMPG.
Okay. And what's the budget?
It will cost, we're going to be going with a new vendor in about 4 months or so, 5 months, but it'll be transparent. Between $110,000 and $165,000 a year is what it will cost. And we provide this free of charge to local governments, to select nonprofits, because the power of this as a public safety tool is amazing. I mean, you don't have to rely on us or our watch officer program to notify the residents in Hinesburg. You can do that.
But residents would still need to sign up themselves?
Free of charge, yes, they will. To receive the public alerts,
Yeah.
they'll have to sign up, yes.
But to see the life safety things, and then they'll come automatically across.
Yeah, anything life safety.
Yeah,
They'll
But how would
choose.
they have your number?
they have it already.
Yeah,
But they won't get those life safety if Hinesburg doesn't sign up.
we can do a reverse 911 dialing, so we can reach 2,000 residents of Hinesburg without anybody signing up. If there was a true emergency
Okay.
where the highway was closed down, you had a major traffic accident where there were fatalities and the road was going to be closed down, or you had a washout on 116, we could do that cellular mobile, where we could hit every cell phone in the town of Hinesburg.
As you did when, I think there was a event in Montpelier,
Yeah,
you
that's what we
mentioned.
waited
Yeah,
when,
okay, I get it.
Yep,
Yep.
so if your cell phone was in there, it would have got hit and said the exit's closed.
Yeah, two examples where that could have been used and wasn't, when Route 4 was closed in Killington because of the fatality coming into Killington. Route 4 was shut down east and west at that location. Route 2 up in the islands was shut down because of a major fatality and accident. We could have notified people coming off the ferry, had they requested it, that they would have had to seek alternate routes and head north. Very powerful tool.
Renee and I discussed, this is how it out, we can set water users to put out information on how to sign up in the water bills.
Yeah.
It's not, people who own the place, in the case of apartments, don't necessarily, aren't the ones who are there. So people getting the bills, the tenants and stuff can put their cell phone, their email, whatever, and then they know if there's an outage or whatever.
The way we signed up North Hero, we've got North Hero on for their water system, Grand Isle Consolidated Water District, Village of, or Bristol is on, Tri-Town in Bridport is on, and I gave them a template that they could mail out in the water bills, and it would request the contact information, first name, last name, how they want to be notified, telephone or cell phone or text messaging, and that way we can build the internal groups if they want to sign up, and they don't even have to sign up for VT Alert if they don't want to. It's pretty powerful.
That will include the schools and the local businesses, so this will be a mechanism to communicate those type of issues in a very efficient way, so that people know when there's work being done on our water lines, or if there's a significant break and who will be impacted, so they have a heads up and right away.
I did a presentation in December to the Water Quality Division of DEC, and they were very receptive to this, and they've been kind of promoting VT Alert when they go out to every community that has a water system in place for the residents. They mentioned VT Alert and said this is the best way to get these notifications out, because that's one of the requirements. You need to notify the press, and then you need to get the information out to the residents themselves somehow. And this would be great. I would help you build this notification group based on, it could be wherever shut-off points are on the water system. We can isolate and build it based on that.
Are there any more specific questions for?
Yeah, is there any type of a standard for what, I mean, I can see how this could be overused.
I've got a list of what would be acceptable or allowable notifications. Okay. As long as you think the stovepipe to public safety, you pretty well can use it in that realm, but you wouldn't, like I said, warn a barbecue.
Right.
Missing dog.
Yeah, but like the school, right. I mean, schools have notification systems already in place. But if there was a winter storm coming through and buses were shut down or bus routes were shut down because of culvert washouts or things like that, you could use VT Alert to notify the same area.
Okay, I mean, so it seems like a pretty powerful tool that, we should strongly consider. My suggestion, based on our time for today, and since this is just first coming out for people to hear about, that perhaps we invite Al Barber, our emergency management representative or emergency management person, perhaps could at another time shortly, we could have a good discussion on this and make a decision if we move forward with it. And then at that point, I think through the town administrator and/or small committee of Al, maybe Chief Costs, move forward with this if we decide. Go ahead.
What I'd like to know is how much staff time is involved to initially set it up in working with you, and not to be answered tonight, but for us to consider what kind of administrative stuff there will be initially, and then long-term. So I want to understand that.
Initially, I mean, the training is an hour and a half for the notifier training. All the initial setup, you tell me what you want, I'll build it for you.
Right, but we have to figure out what we want.
Yeah.
So there's some staff
But,
time.
but it's not that much. The time is not,
Sounds like it's
You're not talking
templates. You have
8 hours a
templates
week
set
or-
up, and you make decisions on those.
So we let Randy know what the type of groups we want to have, and then he would set those up. Our job would be to inform the citizens, to get people to sign up to this, like for the water users, we can include it in their bills, information about it, and then for other purposes, depending on what groups we want to set up.
From my point of view, the setup time will be offset for me at the first water rate. Not having to deal individually with 6 different businesses, 2 schools, and, however many people stop by the break to wonder why they have no water. That they would already know.
Okay. We good? Thank you, Randy. We appreciate it. You'll be hearing back from us, I'm sure. Next item on the agenda is discussion about the location of the CSWD drop-off site associated with the project for the new town garage. Not sure who wants to lead this conversation. There's been a number of moving parts. I think initially, along with this project, we had discussions with CSWD about finding space for them within the project. That was done, and basically a plan was put out. And then along the way, we have been asking them to reconsider, to look at a site up above near the old dump site as a possibility. There were a number of good reasons the town was looking to do that. I think the town also was willing to put some money to help do some of the site investigative work and to show CSWD that it was a viable site, and there were a number of reasons to move forward. And our understanding was the CSWD was not willing to do that, and that may have changed just recently, so it's sort of up in the air. I don't know if Mike or Andrea, you might want to fill us in on where you are. You are both on the committee for the new town garage and have been actively working with this question and how we incorporate CSWD drop-off center in our plan.
I'll say it, and then maybe Steve can, okay. So our committees was working on this. We had representatives from CSWD from the very beginning of this project. We on the committee and the select board, I think, were very clear that we wanted to incorporate and continue to have a positive relationship with CSWD and have a drop-off center in Hinesburg. So we entered into the site planning process knowing that we wanted to include them, and came up with a site plan. That was what was, at the beginning we said, well, would you want to, we have a whole gravel pit here, would you want to go up on Observatory Road? And for a number of reasons, they CSWD felt like that wasn't really that feasible because there wasn't electrical up there, and so we didn't pursue that in the beginning. We had mentioned it though. As the bond passed, and we were very excited to move forward, so we started doing, our architect Steve Smith and the engineers started doing more of the engineering and looking at it, and we started thinking about scheduling in that we are going to have to, it made more sense for CSWD to create a temporary drop-off because it's hard for the road crew to operate in temporary quarters. And we had identified a couple potential places where they could do that temporarily. And again, we mentioned that Observatory Road might be a possibility. We heard a number of concerns from CSWD about Observatory Road as both a temporary and, we said, a potential. Many of us had a lot of experience of having used the facility up there, we're familiar with it, felt that we would like to investigate that as part of our continuing site planning. We were at a juncture about a month ago where we needed to start applying for our Act 250 permit. So we a little bit put a hold on the project in terms of the application until we could resolve the actual location, and feeling like we wanted to move forward with as much information as possible. I came to the board 2 weeks ago and asked the board to appropriate funds from our bond to provide money for a survey and potentially some soil borings so that we could provide the Solid Waste District with some engineering information. Up to that point, we had all been going on our own experience of the site and information that was available on maps. We've had several meetings with Solid Waste District. Their engineer prepared an estimate, which was very good thing for him to do, but it was really based on not necessarily actual on-site data. And at this point, the Solid Waste District board was presented with their engineer's information, and I had an opportunity to listen to their meeting. It was on VCAM, and I would say that I really felt like that the board is very supportive of continuing to work with Hinesburg, but felt that based on their engineer's estimates that it would be cost prohibitive, and that there were some environmental factors that seemed risky to board members to address that site. Apparently, our information about our willingness to contribute funds was not. We did not put it in writing to the Solid Waste District, so they didn't have that at the board meeting for their last week's meeting. We had communicated that verbally when we all met, so I think there was some miscommunication. At this point, I think that it's really important that the town of Hinesburg move forward with our highway garage project with the site plan that we presented to our voters, that the Solid Waste District was participated in that site planning process. We feel confident that it can work. We know that we would like to have more space, but to move forward with the project, I think we have a very workable project, and does not mean that we can't continue to work with the Solid Waste District on exploring the observatory site for, perhaps, a much longer term. I know that listening to their board was very interested to hear the whole role of drop-off centers county-wide. They recognize that Hinesburg is a very active site, that it may put an additional burden on their other sites if we don't have a temporary site. You know, so I feel like I'd like to encourage our board to send the message to the Solid Waste District that we want to continue working with them. We'd like to move forward with the permits for the site as shown on the plans that were voted on at town meeting. Steve or Renee or Mike may want to add something to that.
Steve,
Mike, does that seem, you know, from your perspective and the committee's perspective, seem well represented by what Andrea has brought to it? Oh yeah, you'll need the mic. Mike. Thank you.
No, Andrew's pretty much on. But we'd like to move forward with this. And this whole thing has held us up for over a month now.
So Steve, can you speak to if we do move forward with the plan, the original plan, and like Andrea mentioned at the same time, if we continue to explore the observatory site, does that have any impacts to us or to our project, to the Act 250 process moving forward?
No, that's down the road. But the one thing that Brian did say from CSWD is that he would not work even on the lower site until he has a 20-year lease in progress. I mean, he was very clear, no further work, and he wants to be there for the 20 years.
Yes, we typically sign a 5-year lease with the Solid Waste District, but they want it renewable 3 times. And he was reluctant to even work on finding a temporary site if we didn't. I certainly think that would be important for us to talk with the executive director of the Solid Waste District and work out those legal arrangements as soon as possible, how we move forward.
Was that something new brought to us that
Yeah, we
they
didn't-
were
I don't
looking
think-
for that specific?
Yeah, we weren't aware of that need. I mean, we felt like we had been very committed to working with them and that we wanted them here. And so, you know, I'm confident that we can work out. It's a very simple lease agreement. Brian did forward me a sample of that. And I think if we sit down, Sarah Reeves is the executive director. She was here at a previous meeting. I think we can sit down and try and work that out.
I think it'll also be important that within that language, that we clearly define what is the CSWD's in their responsibility versus the town. And so we don't have some of the same conflicts that we've had up to the current
I mean,
date.
we've done a site plan that really addresses some of the long-standing issues that were with that site that dealt with stormwater.
Right.
And we are doing an exceptional job on the stormwater that I think will work for the garage and the solid waste district. So I think there's some, we want to be clear of what the site is that we're providing and how we would like to, you know, share some of those costs that were associated with getting some of those permits, but I think we can work it out.
Right. Okay.
So is our permit contingent upon their permit?
My understanding right now is we have to file a joint permit. They want to see the entire site plan. So if they were to move up to the observatory site, they might consider it differently. But if they stay down below, and that's what's holding things up, because if they won't work on it, that means nothing can move forward. Right. And the Act 250 is a long process.
Yeah.
So
if they drag their feet from this point.
Spring construction.
Right.
Which has
I
cost.
don't see any reason why they will.
I don't know why they
They
would.
will drag their feet. We've done the site plan. I think we have all the drawings, unless there are extraordinary other things that they need to include in their site plan, but we've done a comprehensive site plan that includes the stormwater, includes, you know, everything dealing with this I don't know how many total acres we are dealing with right there. But-
And their layout is the layout they asked for, so that hasn't changed.
Right.
Right.
I understand. I just don't want to have the town in a situation where everything we want to do is held up by this small portion.
And Steve, can you speak to, so if we do get delayed further because of this, and we move to bidding where they're in spring construction, what impact does that have on our budget and the cost to the project?
Can't
Right.
answer that.
Right.
Right now, everyone's very busy.
Yeah.
Construction costs are high. Whether it cools off over the winter, I think the best bet, if it gets pushed to spring, is bid it early.
Early bid.
In December and January, and
Yeah, okay,
when people are still looking to fill their schedule.
right, thank you.
Can you answer it by saying that it will definitely go up, or is
No,
that's
you-
not even
I
certain?
can't, I couldn't answer that. We can ask our cost estimator, but I think, construction costs in general appreciate at 3 or 4% a year in Vermont. It seems like if you were to take, but lately it's very difficult to get mechanical, electrical firms, subcontractors, to even put a price in on things. They're so busy. So
Okay.
I think everyone looks for winter work in general, and that's a good site because it's well-drained and gravelly. They could build through the winter there, really.
Right,
Probably get the site plowed fairly easy and
Yeah,
whatnot.
right.
possible, there's some connections.
Are there any more comments? It sounds like perhaps we'll be looking for a motion from the board as to whether they support moving forward with the original plan, continue to work with CSWD to answer whatever questions they have, but encourage them to help us move forward. I will sort of comment from my point of view. I have not been to any of the committee meetings for the town garage. I've not been to CSWD, but I've talked to a number of people, not just committee members, representatives and whatnot, and it seems like from the town's perspective, it's been very frustrating because the sort of rules have changed a little bit along the way or haven't been clear, and the communication has not been as good as it can be, and that's caused a lot of angst in this project. And at this point, it feels, what we're hearing from the committee is that, and the architect, is that we need to move forward. And so despite our desire to consider what we thought was a viable spot and maybe perhaps both, a better spot for both parties, and our willingness to put a little bit of our own resources to help make an informed decision, we're back to the original plan that was shared with CSWD, that we went to the bond to the voters with, and that we need to agree we're ready to move forward. Did you have something to say, Marilee?
Yes, I wanted to make a motion that we proceed with that original plan that was approved, the bond was approved at the town meeting.
Is there a second? Okay, is there any other discussion? Yes, Aaron?
So you, Andrea, said correctly that Hinesburg is committed to this project and to Chittenden Solid Waste being there. And as a board, at our last meeting, was it, we talked about the $10,000, which I'm hearing didn't make it legitimately to them, however. Is that commitment, in your opinion, or somebody's opinion, the same coming back, that Chittenden Solid Waste is committed to Hinesburg? Or are we chasing something here that doesn't want to be here?
Well, all I can do is report on what I listened to at
Yeah.
their meeting,
Yeah.
which was last Wednesday night, that I would say there was strong sentiment that he understood that Hinesburg was very much wanted to have our drop-off center, and that I don't think anybody was saying we don't want to be in Hinesburg. They were hesitant about, with the lack of sufficient information, of having more of their staff time spent on investigating the Observatory Road site. And so I think that if we wanted to make the case for the Observatory Road site in the future,
Yes.
we would need to do that on our behalf and using our funds at some later date to explore that. Because my understanding is that the Solid Waste District, this is just from the listening, you know, they are here to serve the communities. And if a community wants a drop-off center, they have strong support from their select board, they will work with the community. And I think, you know, for over 25 years, we have clearly told them we want them here. And I think, I mean, they didn't take a vote that said we will be in Hinesburg, but they didn't take a vote like we're not going to be in Hinesburg anymore. So I think they need to go back to their board, and I'm confident that their staff will report the results of this meeting.
Yes.
We'll show them the motion, can show them our prior commitment from our motion 2 weeks ago for $10,000. I don't think we need to spend that money right now, but that, you know, we will work with them to, I believe we really do need to find a temporary site that they are understanding that it will have implications on their other drop-off centers. If the over 400 users that average come to Hinesburg need to go to Richmond or Williston or South Burlington, that there's an incentive for them to work with us to find a temporary location.
So the couple of the takeaways there, of course, is that this board is very much in support of Chittenden Solid Waste Drop-Off Center staying in Hinesburg. And as demonstrated by our last motion, that we're willing to put our money where our mouth is and make that happen. The 20-year lease, depending on how that's structured, of course, you can do that any sort of different ways. I wouldn't want to have to necessarily lock us into 20 years into whatever temporary situation they're put into. You know, if in fact Observatory Road is the ideal place, I don't want to wait 20 years for a lease to go. But it sounds like both parties are willing to work on that, from what we can kind of gather here.
I think we could probably
I mean,
say
you
that
can
for the
only
next
speak-
20 years, we would like the Solid Waste District to be in Hinesburg.
Absolutely.
And we will work with them to find an appropriate site.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't want that to get lost in this. I also don't want to get lost is that we are going to build a town garage.
Right.
We have been mandated by the voters to build the town garage, and that's what we intend to do. And that's a very important point that I don't want to get lost here. They have to work concurrently. Sounds like the Act 250 pieces are tied. So I think whatever we need to do to make that happen, it sounds like that's starting to happen. I get really nervous when I hear we push this out. You
Well,
know,
it's a month, you know.
no, a month is fine, but you know, when you start talking months become seasons, I get really nervous about that. Not the least of which, of course, is costs associated with it, and to your point, frustration. Yeah.
So we have a motion. Can you repeat the motion, please?
Motion to move forward with the original plan approved with the bond vote and continue to encourage Chittenden Solid Waste District to help the town move forward.
So I think they'll say both things. One, we want to move forward with the project, as you brought up, and that we want to work with CSWD to keep the site here, so. Any other?
With that, is there any, I'm still concerned about the process of the permitting process. And if we don't see action from CSWD, I mean, what recourse do we have as a town to move our portion of the project forward?
I think recognizing Sarah might.
Yes, Sarah?
Hi, thank you. We're not going to do anything to stand in the way of Hinesburg moving forward. My name is Sarah Reeves. I'm the general manager for Chittenden Solid Waste. There has been a lack of communication, so I'm committed to solving that problem, working with Renee and Andrea and anyone else who wants to solve that problem. I think we're extremely close, and I think we're getting to a better understanding of what is needed. And that's where some of the confusion has been. It's again, I'm going to speak to someone myself personally with Act 250 just to make sure that I have an understanding of exactly what we need. I mean, our Act 250 permit is for all of our drop-off centers, not individual one by one. So we have kind of a global 250 permit, so I think that may be part of the confusion as well. But I want to clarify that for myself. I'll communicate it back to Renee, to Mike, to Andrea, and make sure that the town and CSWD both have the same understanding of what we need to do. So we are committed to not standing in the way, for sure.
Much appreciated.
Oh, great, that's good to hear. All right, are there any other comments? There's a motion on the board. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so that motion has passed, and I guess we'll communicate that to the CSWD to let them know this is the direction we want to go. Thank you. I had one other item to bring up on the town garage. I've been approached a couple of times, primarily by the Energy Committee, about potentially having a second look at the garage and to ensure that the highest level of energy efficiency that we can afford is being applied. I am in no way saying Steve and his firm is not capable of doing that work. They certainly are, or that the process up to this point has not been a good process. In talking with committee members, I think they've communicated the process has been good. But at the same time, I think the size of the investment of the town for a probably 50-year project, should make us stop to make sure we are considering every avenue that's out there. And so the Energy Committee has suggested we hire a consultant for $1,000, which is not that much, to have just a quick second look at the design and plans and provide us with any advice or recommendations they might have, which I think, I believe members of the town have been very supportive of high efficiency sort of projects, so I think that members of the town could support that. So I think I could support that. I spoke to Steve on this. He thought they would be willing to provide drawings and have the mechanical engineer speak to the consultant. And make it clear we don't want to delay the project at all. But if there's a couple of options, those could be communicated to the select board and the committee, and at least, at the very least, we could feel like we've done real due diligence on this project, and that would be the least that would happen. The most that would happen is we might find an option or two and look to explore, if it's additional cost, how it might be funded, maybe through grants. Maybe the town would support that if there was a sufficient payback in the future. So I'd like to consider that, but first I'd listen to what the board has to say.
So my question is this done under the idea that there's always efficiencies that can be realized, or is there something that's been sort of dog-eared that, we really missed the ball on this one and we should take care of this or that? Either way is fine, just kind of how am I going into this?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's been some discussion about geothermal. And my understanding of it, it would be very difficult to apply to this project. I think that's what the design team determined, that it would be very difficult to apply and have it provide a payback for a number of reasons. But that might be one item. Another item might be other avenues for efficiency, or leaving the door open in the design for some future upgrade.
Leaving the door open? Isn't that inefficient?
Yeah, I guess leaving the door open isn't efficient. So I think.
So nothing specifically is what you're saying?
There's nothing,
the
no
idea
no
is to go in
smoking
here.
gun by any means,
The idea
no.
is to go in here and just improve upon the process because we have a committee in town who we have asked to do this very task, is what you're talking about? Yeah, got it.
But I'm open to, hearing what, certainly what Andrea might have to say, or Mike. The idea would be this would need to happen in the next couple of weeks. If it couldn't, then we can't afford it. We're delaying our project. And the expectation is there'd be a review and some possible options or ideas and brought to the select board for discussion. And from that point of view, a decision whether we would consider any of those.
So I think just to review where we've been throughout this process, we did discuss different energy efficiency changes that we could make or include in this project. We also had to take in consideration what the budget was, what the bond vote was. And so throughout, each step, we did have a lot of conversations about that. Chuck Reese from the Energy Committee did reach out directly to Steve Smith, so he's approached him on this. I talked with Steve. He's certainly open to discussing that, to see, to look at it. He can share where we've been, what type of energy efficient changes we did make to the project, what things we considered, but decided that it wouldn't have a payback in this type of a situation. So I think that would be an efficient way for them to discuss it directly and move forward. But the Energy Committee, I think it's just kind of coming to this at this point in the game rather than earlier in the process, which might have been a more efficient way of doing it.
Yeah, I would agree that it's a little bit late, and I think as a board, and it's a fairly new committee, that we understand, hey, get involved right from the start, but so we can, blame ourselves for this, being in this position.
I don't know if we're in a position. I mean, I think from the very start of the project, we've put it in the hands of our architect we've told him what our goals are. He's not going to ignore that. I think he knows how to do his job. We trust him. We hired him. I think it's only $1,000, but it's $1,000. And at this point in the process, I think we need to charge full ahead based on what we told the architect at the beginning of the project and trust that he's done what we've asked.
We have been very fortunate on this project to have town residents that are also that are working on this. So they very much know that energy efficiency is important to Hinesburg, and so that's why these conversations happen throughout the process. They did look closely at this. We did discuss it at these planning meetings, and Steve did come and do presentations at the select board throughout the process prior to the bond being passed. So there was many opportunities for those comments and feedback to take place throughout. Absolutely.
For $1,000, it's late in the game because the drawings are about 75% done, and they'd be 100% if it wasn't for this delay with working out the co-location on the site. But we're totally open to having Andy Shapiro, the consultant, involved. We work with him on other projects. So
yeah. So thank you.
So I'm hearing that if we did go ahead with this, it would not be disruptive or delay.
well, it could potentially have some outcomes that would be disruptive. If they suggested a different heating system for some reasons that we don't know. But no, if they can finish the review in a week and we have a meeting and it's a matter of tuning things up, we would just do that.
Yeah.
If they suggested a geothermal system, which would add about $300,000 to the cost and really doesn't make sense for a building like this because they work best when the heating and cooling load balance. And here we only really have a heating load. So we're not cooling the big garage structure.
Right.
So, we're happy to talk about any of that.
Right. I just wanted to reiterate that there has been a very thoughtful process in this, and you'd have taken into consideration those concerns that Hinesburg has.
Any other thoughts by the board, or?
I've been at meetings, and, I think we did, we were aware of the goals in our town plan, and, made Steve aware of them, and knew that, and I think, as Steve said, kind of a peer review, just a second set of eyes looking at something, and it might trigger something that we don't do right now, but that we could anticipate in the future.
One example that we did do, we did the roof structure so that it would accommodate solar arrays in the future. We knew it didn't fit into the budget currently, but we planned for it, and we did do a different type of structure that's more expensive, but it accommodates that energy efficiency in the future.
Unless we hear a motion, we'll just move on, so.
Well, I'll make a motion to support the Energy Committee's request to use $1,000 to hire a consultant to work with the architect and mechanical engineer on review.
Peer review.
Peer
of the
review.
Design.
Could we add to that what Steve said, that this be completed, what did you say, within a month?
Couple weeks.
A week, yeah.
1 week.
Okay.
Where's the $1,000 coming from? The bond?
Come from the bond.
Yeah, the bond. I assume there's $1,000 in there.
Wow.
I mean, I'm going to assume there's contingencies that haven't been chewed up.
There is a contingency, but
Yes,
the
it's pretty
contingency,
tight.
there's a purpose for contingencies, and so there's a lot of unanticipated costs that come throughout a
Yeah, I
construction
get nervous
process.
about that too. Like Tom says, it's only $1,000, and conversely, it's good to have a second set of eyes and all. But are we opening the door here to? Are we opening a door that we've already closed, that we've had a discussion about already? I guess is my point. Sounds like you're agreeable to a peer review.
Absolutely.
Sure, it's no problem, it's fine, but I don't get a sense that much will come out of it. Who knows? I know.
We have a very good mechanical engineer, and the consultant proposed here often consults with them on these issues. So, I mean, we're totally open to it, and it's never a bad thing.
I mean, could we spend $1,000 in a better way to actually do something that we've identified through this process already, rather than look for new things to identify?
That's a good point. If we're at this point looking for things to identify, I think it's really late in the game.
Well, we may be coming up with some, add alternates when we go out to bid, and it seems like this would be an opportunity to at least see if there are any things that could when we're finalizing it. So I think it's just an opportunity to support our Energy Committee, who is late to the game in this, but is making this recommendation, and I'd like to think that we're open and inclusive to this kind of cooperation. The architect is, and I will support the motion.
Yeah, I think, again, from my point of view, this is, I'm not in any way putting down the process or anything like that. But I do feel that people in the town are looking at a 50-year investment, and we'd want to make sure we've looked under, every rock and whatnot to see that we've put a design forward that we can feel 100% confident, everybody, that, we've done the due diligence.
Maggie, can you get the?
Or you could just answer, what's the total amount of the bond? Just a reminder, I can't remember.
3.1?
I think it's
3.1. So this is a tenth of a percent, a hundredth of a percent, yeah.
People,
But
they can't.
from what Steve said, it seems like he works with Andy, and sometimes he consults for Andy, and I'm kind of thinking I have a lot of confidence in the work that he's doing, and this might be redundant, and maybe it's money that we don't need to spend.
That's my concern.
Okay. Yes, Eric? You got to use the mic, sorry.
My thoughts, having been involved in a lot of different projects, is, you know, the $1,000 is nothing. But the potential delay grenade of the results is something to be concerned about, because you're going to get, it's going to take a week to get the report. Then people have to mull over it. Then they have to decide, well, do we want to do that? Do we not want to do that? When are we going to do that? And it's just further. And
I think you've got that potential there, for sure. There's no question
I
about
would
it.
assume that any significant change would have to come back to the board, so that's another.
If it had a cost impact, otherwise the committee would take care of it. So I hear a motion, I don't hear a second, I don't hear a lot of support for it.
We have one other comment.
Yes, Mike?
I was actually going to echo what Eric was saying, is $1,000 can get eaten up pretty quickly, and I heard that the drawings are almost 70% done, and if something comes along, it's not so much the $1,000, it's the implications that can occur.
Okay, so unless I hear further action to move forward, we will.
Can I
go
also
ahead.
take
Yeah?
this opportunity to publicly thank
Oh.
Steve Smith and Tom Barden, two Hinesburg residents who have gone above and beyond on this project, have volunteered a lot of time. And so I have thoroughly enjoyed working with them, and I look forward to continuing to work with them. But I just wanted to publicly state our appreciation.
And-
Derek, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah.
a lot of local residents that are the professionals working on this project. So thank you.
And just your open-mindedness to this possible proposal shows your willingness to listen to the people in Hinesburg and try to do the best, absolute best job. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And while we're thanking people, I don't think I did in the beginning of the meeting, but I did want to recognize the highway crew after the last Friday or Thursday
Night to
night's
Friday.
practical disaster, and the amount of work I can't imagine to get the roads back open and operational.
Continued work
It
in
seems like every select board meeting, there's some level of, that we need to recognize people working in the town who are keeping either the water flowing or the roads going. So thank you, Mike, and your team. I'm sure it was, yeah, I'm sure.
And they are not done from the damage to that storm. It'll be ongoing work in the coming weeks. So,
Thank you. All right, the next item is the two items on the wastewater budget, and then the following item, wastewater capacity. Eric, do you want to lead us through here? This is a yearly approval of this water and wastewater budgets that typically are done by July 1st, but we had some delays this year. And I don't believe the board has had much chance to look these over, so if you could walk us through them. Are we able to pull them up there?
let me see. It's the Dropbox that's not working for some reason in this room to access it.
If I emailed them to you, would that be helpful?
I can try.
I could do that.
Let me just. They work in my office, but for some reason. Might have to try the email and see if that
All
works.
right, I can do that. There are two in the Dropbox. One, they appear to be pretty similar.
let's watch a movie.
There's a revenue and an expenditure one.
Oh, yeah, right. All right, so now I'm going to send them to you.
Do you want to keep going
There's
while I
one, yeah,
try to?
it's coming. One's coming. The expenditure?
Hasn't arrived yet.
Okay.
I've got the Pony Express email in here right now. So. Do you want to have Eric just go ahead
Yeah,
and start?
yeah.
Sure.
and
Tell us
this
which one
comes
you want to
through?
start with.
Well, we'll just start at the top on the budget. So, say, I don't have the numbers, just the actual, for some reason, the numbers of each account didn't come up, but the names did. So, on water operating supplies,
Operating supplies is the first one?
correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Change, we went up $5,500. That's mostly due to additional water chemicals associated with the water plant.
Do you know where we are right now on budget for the 17?
We are, it looks like well, and currently, with what's come in, we're just behind breaking even. We do have an issue with delinquencies. We have an issue with delinquencies that by far more than covers that by a long shot. I'll get to that later. But we're within $10,000 of breaking even right now between the two accounts. So, repair and maintenance supplies, we went up due to the rash of breaks, a lot of involving the same class of valves from the 1999 upgrade. They put in valves that did not have stainless steel bolts, and they're disintegrating. And unfortunately, a large percentage of them are in locations where it'd be very difficult to proactively go after them, like the middle of 116, main roads. We are going to, the project you talked earlier about with the new connector road, we're going to take that opportunity to actually fix 3 of them before they grenade on us.
Can I ask you a question about the repair and maintenance supplies?
Yes,
And then there's repair and maintenance labor. Is that
Correct.
subcontractors?
correct.
Okay.
Yep. That's the people we hire when,
Yeah.
breaks happen that do the digging and,
Right.
yep. Yep. So, small tools and equipment, that's gone up a bit just because we are, quite often we're bringing tools in from home. We're just short on the necessary tools, and in a bad way. Professional development, I've dropped just due to, lack of time to attend as many courses as we probably should. So we haven't been using all the money because we just haven't had time to leave. Insurance, I can speak mostly to operational type expenses, and that's more of on the administrative sides as far as what that costs for the passive insurance and the workers' comp, same way. Testing has increased due to there being more requirements with the new plant.
I see the utilities are spiking up quite a lot. Is that power at the new water?
Power to the new water plant. It makes great water, but it loves electricity.
It loves electricity?
Yes. Yes, it does. It's, at some point when, if we can somehow leverage a grant or something, we've specifically built that facility with one side of the building facing due south. So the roof is ready for panels. We've talked to Brad Wayner, and he is not opposed to, that back field also having panels. So we've got possibilities when we have a chance to do it. Sure. Talking to the supplier of our treatment facility, our treatment system, and he may have some ends on ways to do that benefits the town more so than what we've seen traditionally, going kind of directly to the source, dealing with, darn, I forget the name of the place.
What do you need to
Down
do
off the interstate, the people who do controls for solar panels.
Scott, what's the name of the people who do the controls for solar panels that are?
Is he back there?
He's back there.
All right. Yeah, we were talking about the solar panel thing, but kind of cutting out the middleman.
Yes. Right, we did talk about cutting out the middleman, and Dynapower, which is a local company here, that's the key part of these solar systems. You can get the panels pretty inexpensively. Obviously, you need to talk to the power company on how it's integrated, but a really important piece is the power management. How do you connect the utility and the solar panel, and that thing is actually really what it's all about, and that's Dynapower works on those, and that's a local company here.
Yeah, there you go. I could see the building, but I couldn't remember the name. Yep. Okay, repair and maintenance labor. That took a big jump. We saw last month why. We're experiencing some period of, infrastructure issues, and big infrastructure issues cost big labor, unfortunately. Water permit fees has stayed the same. Utilities has gone up due to, we have an actual treatment facility, not just a well pump house. We're treating our water, and the feedback has been quite positive from the residents on how much they enjoy the difference.
It would be good on this next time, if we could have seen 2015, because I assume we upped it from 15 to 16 to the 45,000. So the fact that it's 1,000 over is really a couple percent. So it's not an issue, but it would be good to know. The assumption is there was a jump between the 2 years.
If we could get into the Dropbox from that meeting a year ago, we can find it.
Well, we're not, and I apologize to people looking, we're unable to pull up that file, so we're sort of running a little blind here.
Right. So going into principles and interests, that's one of those things that's out of my purview.
I'm sorry?
I don't have a lot of background on the
You don't know where the
stuff.
bond,
Right.
why the bonds are, where the bond
Right.
money's coming from, or how it gets
I haven't had a
applied?
chance to look into that.
Okay.
We've been kind of swamped with just trying to keep the water going straight this year. It's been
But
quite a year.
Those are expected costs.
Of course.
As
The
the
biggest
bond gets
driver
applied.
the biggest driver of increase this year is now we're paying for it.
Right.
We've got the debt service for the bond for the new system. So, going down to shared expenses, I hadn't had a chance to talk to Trevor. He put the numbers in for salary. The decrease I expect represents a change in balance both in town administrator time in the department and possibly balancing out some of our time to buildings and facilities. So I think that's where that's represented.
Well, that cost has actually gone up, right? Than what the budget was.
No.
No,
Oh,
it's
okay,
down.
I see, yeah.
I think
slightly
in
down.
brackets
Right,
is
right.
reduction.
Yep, okay.
Yep. Okay. say FICA, it's FICA, you know, those, all the insurances. Health insurance opt-out's the same. Just office supplies are slightly higher. Vehicle repair and maintenance, with newer vehicles, there's less maintenance or less repair. We haven't been using a lot of postage. I think that they just missed, that's an oversight on the vehicle insurance. And trash removal, we're looking at a better contract. So,
Has the work, they're all work trucks, but the storage truck, has that been replaced yet?
it is in the process.
Okay.
It's on the budget. We have a F-350 being sourced through the state bid process. That's coming through Formula Ford, which is actually being managed by, believe it or not, a man that works at Shearer Chevy, because they've agreed some arrangement where his time is shared on state bid trucks between both dealerships. And then we're finalizing exactly things to have have Iroquois take care of the box. It's all going to be packaged in one truck, one price, and Renee is currently shopping lease-to-own packages from different banks.
Okay.
Yep. Let's see. Telephone has gone up. Telephone includes internet services as well, due to us having an additional location with the Wi-Fi for the treatment facility, for the water treatment. Vehicle fuel has gone up just because, well, vehicle fuel goes up.
It's gone down.
Although it has gone down. It has gone
It's
down.
definitely, it's like the lowest it's been in.
It's true. Yes.
So what are you using for, well,
The trucks have been more active, so you burn more gas when you're going 3 different directions at once. Hold on.
are we
Capital-
tracking mileage, though, and not just the cost? Because that's what I've asked a couple of times, is on our vehicles, that we track the number of miles that we're traveling and not just the cost. So we really can understand that it is, whether it is additional mileage or whether it's the fluctuation in the prices of gas.
Right. I'm certain we have additional mileage.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just something that administratively, I would
Yeah.
hope that as we're preparing the
It's-
budget, that's the numbers that we have that as a reference point, because
Right.
because gas prices do fluctuate so much, and it can be a significant portion of the highway budget, the police budget, and it's not that much of your
Right.
budget.
Right. Yep. At least the gas vehicles, I'm not sure how the diesel vehicles are worked. I don't have any. That information is available just because of the way the fuel card system works.
Yes.
So, yep. Down in wastewater, we actually have a bit of a budget reduction, just trying to keep pencil sharp. Operating supplies is flatlined. I've lowered repair and maintenance supplies, flatlined small tools and equipment. Again, lowered the professional development, i.e. training, just due to trying to stay local, just not having the opportunity to take training. But we've taken enough to stay legal, but we haven't been able to really expand our knowledge base just due to scheduling. Insurance, again, that's out of my purview for the most part, as workman's comp. Testing, the number seems to be a good working number for testing right now. Repair and maintenance labor I reduced. The sewer system has been staying fairly intact It just doesn't, it's not, you know, it's not subjected to the same pressures as water. So,
Well, it's been a lot of water, though, going into it from the rain.
yes, it has. And it's taken it like
and
a
I think
champ.
John said he held some back last week because...
We did.
Yeah.
We had, the river was further out of banks than anyone's ever seen it. It was threatening to come into our wastewater facility.
In my house.
So, yeah, it was threatening to come in backflow into the wastewater facility, so we shut the gate. And as high as the lagoons were, we held water just to keep keep the river out of our system.
Were we really close there? Or was
Oh, yeah.
there,
Yeah.
Do we have plans in place if that was to happen? A specific plan, written plan?
There's not a lot you can do. at that point.
Well, there's got to be some steps we would do.
Yeah, we
like
could-
make a phone call or two.
Right,
or-
I mean, yeah.
Right, right.
You know, we can shut off the effluent flow. We could sandbag around the contact chamber to keep our stuff out of the river, but to keep the river from backing into it is very difficult.
Maybe that'd be something we look at, because while it was a big storm, I would expect we might see bigger storms.
Right.
So, you know, if that was to happen, even though you're saying, you know, we're at the mercy, there are a few steps we might
Right.
take. It might be good
Right.
to have those plans in place.
If the contact chamber itself got submerged, that's all treated effluent anyway. Okay? And that's a very finite quantity of water.
I guess you don't have to tell us
Yeah,
what
the plant
we
was
do.
shut off going into
Right.
exiting the lagoons.
Right, so
the
we don't
lagoons-
need to know the detail.
Yeah.
I just need to say,
Well,
maybe we
for-
might want to know
Yeah, for the
if we'd pull that sheet of paper out and know
Right.
what to do.
The height of the lagoons, for them to be underwater, downstairs is underwater. Here, the whole valley's gone.
Okay.
At that point. So, yep. Let's see, where were we? Okay, permits and licenses, flat line. Phosphorus removal, I'm eliminating that line because I'm limiting that line item just because it was a duplicate, really, of sludge removal. They're both.
Okay.
I was using two line items to do one job,
Okay.
so I consolidated them in sludge removal. So sludge removal is a bit higher, and phosphorus removal doesn't exist. It's one and the same. I'm not sure how over the years they morphed into different, line items, but they did.
Well, doesn't the phosphorus removal include all the chemicals that you're using in the alum, and, when we used to do all that, and that's why that line item was there?
It may have been at one point.
And then the sludge was something separate.
Right. At one point it was. Ever since before I was here, all the chemicals have been put under,
Chemical.
operating supplies. And
So that's line 51 and 54.
Well, it was a
you're
pretty
saying?
big, it was...
Actually, no, I take it back. It's all under sludge removal. I mean, alum,
Got it.
sludge dredging, all that stuff is sludge removal. It's just using the KISS system. It's all the same.
Well, but sludge removal isn't something that we typically did every year either.
Right. Now we do.
Yeah, okay.
I think,
Right.
that would be your call,
That's
whether you
probably the
break it
difference.
out so we could track it better. You probably have the details of
Right.
how much alum we've used, how
Oh,
much
yeah.
it's cost to pump the sludge out,
Yep.
which would be in that, right? The yearly sludge pumping out
Right.
of that
It's all in there.
lagoon.
Yep.
Does that get bid, the sludge removal, or are Hardigans the only guys who do it?
Hardigan's doesn't do it. It's PMP septic.
Oh.
And-
Oh, well, Hardigans used to do it.
Right. Currently, I'm doing it with PMP septic, and they do it much more Vermont farm style, which is definitely lower cost than Hardigan's. He actually mixes it and pumps it using a manure pump. Works great. And we are reusing the product, which I think is the way it should be done. It goes both on cow corn, both at the Garvey farm and at the P&P, the Pratt farm in Richmond. So it's not only more cost effective, but it's, you know, it's a reuse versus.
Right, but they must
But-
test it for
oh,
heavy metals and all that.
It's tested,
Yeah.
yeah, for metals and pathogens, and
Yeah.
it's been pathogens have been neutralized to, I forget what log, but it's inert.
So the 2032 bond, what is that?
That is a very good question. So I've went into this, kind of took care of the operational stuff, and Trevor had taken care of the administrative type cost, and it's with current events, it's been a little difficult to get a hold of him to clarify some of that stuff.
Right. And I appreciate the fact you've been out quite a bit on guard duty, you
Yep.
know, and so we've had some delays getting this budget together. I think this is the first time we've really had a good look at it. My suggestion will be that we have a couple weeks, we post this, we have some time to look at the budget, and you get some time to really review it closer. And then I think the questions will be more pointed. And also, we perhaps, you know, will look at the detail again, but sort of just if you want to just give us the general overview, where are we?
Yep.
What's the proposal from you going forward? That would be helpful. And if the board is okay with this, that we would push this off for 2 more weeks and have the time to review it. And also, if it's okay with Renee, we'd have the time to review it. You would have more time to prepare, because I think it's been, you know, it's been very difficult to get, and I can respect that because of some scheduling challenges, for sure. So, but maybe you give us the overview of what this all means for the users.
Yep, so in respect to water, as most of you are well aware, we're chasing a large water loss. We found a lot of stuff, but we haven't, as far as I can tell, we haven't found it yet. I'd like to tally how many hours of professional help we've had. We had water leak detector in today. He brought the wrong equipment, so we got some stuff done, but not his full potential. He'll be back on Monday.
So I'm aware of 2 that I was told. You found one on Richmond Road. Of course, that was the middle of the night digging out the pipe.
Correct.
And then another at the community school, is that correct?
Yep, that was theirs. It was in their system.
And did those 2, I assume they're repaired now since you know about them, and did they equate to any savings of any significance?
From what I can tell, in a limited capacity right now, I haven't seen much effect. The problem with judging that is
School's out of session.
no, well, that also, but we had a break inside of our pump station up at Piet, next to the reservoir, that doused our electronics that control the telemetry system. So we're currently running our water system manually, and you can't really track the flow rates and fill rates when you're just turning it on and off by hand versus, okay, it took X hours to get from 11.5 to 12.6, you know, running.
But you have that under control with having that replaced, as I understand, correct?
What's that?
There's a plan in place to.
Oh, we're halfway done installing the
That's what I
controls.
thought, yeah.
They had some parts missing. We're waiting on parts.
Yep.
But yeah,
That was my understanding.
Yes.
When do you expect it would be done? I mean, at this point, what's your best estimate?
I'm hoping within a week or 2.
Okay, so
Yeah.
within a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't.
And we're able to get by just manually, and we're kind of running a little blind as far as total consumption because
Right.
of that?
We've got total consumption. I've got a flow meter, but the amount of time it takes to get, how I track, you know, whether I'm losing water, a lot of that is how long does it take me, you know, on a normal overnight fill to get from here to here? You know, if I can't fill in that amount of time, where's the water going? Okay. And also the gallonage is easier to track in an automatic versus, because it's more random doing it manually. It's hard to explain, but you've got the gallons.
It's more than just saying, I've turned it on at this time, I've turned it off at that time.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So right now you
But from what I can
suspect,
feel is that we haven't found it.
right, so that's
all.
your gut feeling right now,
Right.
and the data will show that.
Right.
And we continue to search for that too, bringing in resources to help with that.
Right. Oh, yeah, and they've been very helpful.
Good.
And they're committed to sticking with us until, you know, as schedule fits, until we've got it. Another thing that we need to reel in on that, we've been hit and missing recently, but Scott and I are working on the efficiency of the water plant itself.
The amount of, it's not effluent, but the.
Brine.
The
brine.
The
We have
percentage loss through
Right.
treatment.
Right.
And that's much higher than expected?
Our efficiency, the percentage of what's being wasted, I guess, is much higher or conversely, you could say that the treatment efficiency is much lower.
Yeah. What was it expected to be?
A little over 90% was what we were looking at.
9%?
90, and it's running
Oh.
around 80 or just shy thereof.
Okay.
Our water is, well, as we know, it's very hard. It's very high pH'd, and it's difficult to treat without causing the filters to bind. I kept turning the efficiency up about 6 months ago, and it nearly cost us several $1,000s in filters, but we caught it.
And it clogs them or something?
Yes,
Or- yeah.
crystallizes.
Yeah.
So we backed it back out, but working with Scott on the possibility of a pre-treatment acid dosing system that won't end up in the water. It's just, it helps prep it for the filters that will bump our efficiencies up.
And then, so it's a process solution as opposed to, or maybe in conjunction with the improvement to the filters? Or is the filters a set quantity?
The
and
filters
you
are
have
pretty much
to-
a set quantity.
Got it.
For the job we want them to do, they're a set size. You know,
So it's a process
Right.
improvement.
it's
What goes in?
conditioning the water to do it most efficiently.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that continues to be worked on.
Right.
But we're roughly 10% off,
Right.
which decreases our available allocation.
Right. On both sides. Mm-hmm. On both sides.
Right, that's
Yeah.
right. So that's taking up wastewater
Right.
too at the same time.
Yep. So, with the current usage being as high as it is, I've moved on to the water. Well, let's do the easy one first. No, let's do the hard one first. Moved on to the water allocation designation form, which you guys get to fill out as you see fit, but I filled out the first portion with just the raw data. We have
So
About
is
neg-
everybody pulling this up? Can you
Yeah,
see that?
so I'm just going, we're
Okay.
going to 7A.
And again, I think we're not going to really make any, my
Right.
suggestion is but give us the overview so we
Yep.
know what we're looking at and where the issues are.
The
Back
over-
to the wastewater, the water, we see the budget, and what's the recommendation as far as going forward
Mm-hmm.
with the, is the budget going to, are you recommending we remain the same for the costs?
for rates.
Yes.
Well, typically, sorry, the rate adjustment memo usually comes out after you approve a budget, but as far as my gut reaction is, it's going to be, the costs are going to, finish my thought. The costs are gonna require about an 8% increase in water and about a 4% increase in wastewater rates. But you know, if it pans out the way this budget is proposed, I would suggest a 5% water and a 1% wastewater, coupled with us getting, well, we'll use the word proactive about pursuing delinquencies. Because that's another problem we have, is we have in excess of $70,000 in delinquent accounts. $37,000 of those are over 120 days delinquent.
On both water and...
That's total, right?
Total.
I mean,
Can you do a memo up for us in the interim before we, put some of this stuff in writing for us?
yep. So in water, it's $40,000 in delinquent accounts, and wastewater is just over $33,000 in delinquent accounts. Yep.
So one of your recommendations is we put more pressure and get a higher percentage. It'd be nice to
Absolutely.
know what the percentage of delinquent accounts are, and we could ask Missy what it's been historically, and is it higher than we are typically historically?
No,
or is
it's not. It's kind of been about that going along. As a matter of fact, you can tell that because the interest and late charges line item is almost always $7,000. So they've kind of, previously, I guess that's kind of been the accepted, that's what it is. I'm not sure that's acceptable. I think we should be able to at least cut that number in half.
And that's based just on your think we can? I mean, it would be good to
Well,
talk
Well, I
with...
think, one of the things
we
is it consistently the same users, or is it a revolving group of users?
It's a mix.
Yeah, so
It's a mix.
we should,
There are some habitual offenders,
yeah.
and then there's others that come and go. I've had success in the past in other locations in getting folks to, get on board. I had a pretty good record in Richmond of getting things paid I never actually had to turn a curb stop wrench. I dug holes around them, painted around them, knocked on doors, but
So
never
what
actually had to turn some off.
percentage of the budget would that equal?
The delinquencies is almost 10%.
Of the total budget?
Yeah. It is. It's
Okay.
9.something% of the total budget.
I think, putting that in a memo of exactly where we are, and I think since the office downstairs is the one who chases that, I assume you don't make phone calls on that they're the ones who chase that. It'd be good to get their input
It'd
on
be
it.
something we'd have to do as a team.
Okay.
We go out and, paint curb stops and dig holes around them and all that visual stuff that people say, they're going to turn my water off.
Okay.
There's little visual things you can do that make people go, oops, it's time to get my checkbook out.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so now we're on the allocation sheet.
yep. So back to that. So you go down, you have the permitted water capacity of 260 gallons a minute. That's at half a day is what they have been giving us. So that's 720 minutes, gives you 187,000 gallons a day. We are currently using 171,800. So that leaves you 15,400 gallons. There are 890 gallons of residential allocations that aren't connected, that are approved, and 1,670 gallons of commercial that are approved and not connected. That brine loss is about 35,000 gallons a day currently.
35, is it?
Yes. The reserve that the board has set is 9,360 gallons per day, which leaves an allocable capacity of negative 31,500, which means right now we don't have water to sell.
Well, the usage number that you have is 15 through 16, year 16, but is that just a
15 through 16, oh, yes, that's a typo.
typo?
That is just, yep, I missed that one.
Okay,
Reused the form and didn't catch that date.
okay.
Yep.
It should be 16 through 17.
It is 16 through 17, and it is actually more up to date than that. It's 7/01/16 through 6/31/17.
Okay.
We use the actual fiscal year. Yep.
So this is the first time we've seen a negative number.
Mm-hmm. We're losing a lot of water, and I don't understand it where it's going, because Hinesburg's mostly clay, and it should pop up.
Should pop up,
It's
yeah.
driving
Well, maybe
me-
it's all popping up because the ground is so saturated anyway.
Yeah, it's,
So it's like, it seems like it would have been easier to find it last year, but actually, when you think about it, it was so dry that it was being absorbed all the time.
yeah.
And so this year, with
Possible.
everything being
But-
so wet,
But the numbers didn't say if in fact the majority of this is from loss like that,
But
we would have had it last year.
yeah, but we
we're
did have
implying it.
loss last year. We've been chasing this loss
Well, this is
for-
a different leak. I mean, that one, we fixed one.
Yeah.
The one that we caught that big one. This time last year, we were in good shape.
Okay.
We're using a little more than double the water that we were using in July last year. Part of that is that nanofiltration loss. That's almost 1 million gallons a month.
And what's our confidence we're going to be able to change that 20% loss back to the original design estimate of 10%?
What's the confidence level that the acid addition will get us from the not quite 80 to the around 90% efficiency?
Right, so when we talk about efficiency, what we're really talking about is a recovery, which is the percent. So if you put in 100 gallons, how much of that do you get out as treated water and how much is wastewater?
Yep.
The wastewater is where all the hardness is going, so that's actually what we're trying to do, and it has to go somewhere. So the point I'm making is you can't have that too low, because what happens, as you've seen in the plan, is you'll get crystal formation. It's called scale. So the laws of how efficient and how much you can take out and these processes is all really governed by the groundwater itself and its chemistry. And it varies, we have rain and it's sort of, it's kind of changing underground seasonally and all those kinds of things. So there's been a few events where Eric's, done the right thing. He's trying to improve that recovery, that percentage, but he's run into these limits and he's found this crystallization scaling problems, and we've had to clean and recover from that.
Well, so we had a specification of what we expected the groundwater to be.
Right.
And are we outside of those limits?
It's hard to say without constantly testing it. It's, you have a system that's operating.
So what we've tested, is it outside of those limits?
Currently, I think you'd have to do more testing to see and compare that to the original design. That would be worthy. The problem with that is a moving target. So if you grab a sample today and spend the money on that test, tomorrow it's different, and your result then may not be relevant. So circling back on this, one way to improve this is to change the water chemistry a little bit. When we originally talked about this plant way back, there was a lot of resistance to using any chemicals. I don't know if you recall that discussion or not. So this plant was not provided with any acidification.
Yeah, dosing systems for that.
Right, so, these chemicals, we're talking about citric acid or sulfuric acid, when they're concentrated, they're strong, but they're used in water treatment all the time. They're safe chemicals if they're diluted. It's in orange juice, for example. But If we improve the solubility, essentially, if we reduce the capacity of these crystals to form, then we can actually take out more of a percentage. And that helps Eric on both the disposal and on the usable amount of water. So one option would be to inject either citric or sulfuric acid, which would lower the pH of the water going into the treatment plant. And if you recall, we're only treating half the water. And so that process then would allow us to increase that percentage, that recovery, and there would be, the plant would be, basically would have fewer losses. You know, that, it's not up to us to do that, but, you know, it wouldn't cost very much to implement that. And we could do a test or something, and that's, you know, it's easy to do.
There's no such thing as no water loss kind of thing. There's always going to be some amount of this brine happening. What we're talking about is how much we're comfortable
How
with.
efficient it is.
Well,
Is that correct?
That's
There's
correct.
always
because
going to be some.
The process is a separation process, and by definition, you have to have some flow, because that's carrying away your hardness, which is what we're trying to remove. So if you could imagine having no flow, then basically you're not getting rid of any hardness, so it wouldn't work.
Well, I mean, so we must have some performance requirements for the system. You know, my recommendation is we take a look at how we're doing against what we bought and what's the plan to get us better. And if it's, you know, pre-treatment and changing the pH and helping that process, then, you know, I think we'd want to look at it. But I think we ought to have the whole story in front of us, because that also is affecting our water allocation and, in a sense, the development of the town.
And are we, are customers actually using more, or we're really feeling like it's this and some other water
So
loss?
from meters, you mean?
Yeah,
have
from
the-
meters.
yeah,
I mean, are we seeing an increase?
Don't see, I'm not seeing much more for receipts,
Okay.
so, yeah.
With regard to the water loss due to a leak, are there like stations where you can shut off a section of town in the late night and watch the pressures and see if you can at least?
There are. They're not distributed very well. It's a method that can work.
Maybe after you get the telemetry system up and
right,
running.
because you can't see it very well without your systems running. You know, as far as
Right.
right. So right now we're working on, you know, listening using the correlators and the ground mics and all that stuff, and going around from doing it the, you know, walk the system method, and listening and correlating and getting it that way. But yes, we can, when we have a baseline, and that's kind of the problem, is this kind of happened shortly after it started to show itself shortly after we got the new system online. So it's made it very difficult to get a baseline. I mean, my old water system had years of data, and you could tell.
But we know how much is coming out of the well. We know how much
Right.
is drawn off from brine.
Well, but we also have more users, potentially more use by those users. Then we got the brine issue. There's a lot of variabilities that, you know, I mean, so the same time that came on, Green Street came on, and there's.
And those are metered.
Right.
Okay.
When you check your meters quarterly, you don't. It's not something you get live feed of. Yep. It's.
They're not breaking the new line that goes out there.
I hope not. We were going to check that today, but the guy brought his 2 correlator boxes, and one of them was actually a hydrant kit, and he grabbed the wrong box.
Yeah.
So we're going to actually, that's one of the things we're checking Monday. Yep. So we just did ground mic stuff. ground mic work today?
So obviously, this current zero allocable capacity has been a concern for people that are in the DRB
Yeah.
process right now, for, other developers. And I did hear back Jeff Glassberg, who's the consultant for the owner of the energy property. They were going to attend this evening, and I got an email from them late that they weren't able to attend, but they wanted to share with the board, and I have the email up there, but I can just read it to you, that we understand that the town and the water department are confronted with some serious infrastructure problems over the past few weeks, and we appreciate the dedication of town employees to address them. Thank you. Once these immediate problems are solved, we hope that we can engage in a discussion at a future select board meeting about near and longer term plans for water supply in the village. There is an opportunity to bring enterprise uses to the village, and this past April, we applied for the available water allocation in the village northeast to support this. Then the capacity problems began and our application was on hold. We look forward to bringing new business and jobs to the village soon. Imagine your business here with water. Thank you, Jeff. So I told him I would share that with the board. And I think that, like I said, there's a lot of DRB applications in front of the DRB that are also on hold, awaiting a resolution to this.
But yeah,
So priority number one, find that leak.
absolutely. We've been,
I assume that takes
it's been driving us
a major part of
batty.
your day. is finding
We've been after it constantly. We've found, and the possibility of my nightmare may be true, just because of what we've been finding. When we first turned this on, the system first came on, it was a pretty good pressure spike. It did, upset things. I'm hoping it's not a case of I have leak all over the place from that first initial spike.
That would be a nightmare scenario.
And I don't think so, because in most places in the Hinesburg, geology, they show themselves. Clay just pushes water straight up. Places like Thistle Hill, which we've concentrated a lot of our efforts in, it's blasted ledge, it just eats water, it disappears. But Thistle Hill's been silent.
Is there anything you need from us to help move forward with this?
I don't think so. Yeah, if you can find luck. We've been spending the time, the money, the professional help. I've never run into one like this, especially in a town that's got such clay.
Can you quantify how much you think your loss increase is?
I'm probably losing about 40,000 gallons a day.
More than we were 2 years ago.
Well, no, that was probably, I think that was probably a 20,000 a day leak. We're losing double that, yeah.
So we were around 20, you
Probably.
think we may be at 40 now.
Yep. And that one went away, and this one's just twice as big. Yeah, we found that one and got it. That was
That was in Thistle
That
Hill.
was the Thistle Hill.
Thistle Hill leak. Yep,
This one or more than one.
is at least double that, yeah. Yep. At least. But we will find it.
Any other comments? So shall we schedule time, the next meeting? I don't know, I hadn't looked at the next agenda.
Next meeting is the public hearing for the draft wastewater permit. So they give a 2-hour window for that. It would be starting at 7 o'clock. So I'm not sure. I'd have to check with the state to see how that works, if the entire 2 hours is expected. It all depends on who comes from Hinesburg and what the...
What is it that we're doing?
This is for the public hearing for the draft wastewater permit for the town. The public hearing has been scheduled for the July 20th meeting, so beginning at 7 o'clock is the public hearing. So that was in your packet as well, just information from that.
It was an unnumbered item.
It was an
at the
unnumbered
bottom.
item because it's for the next meeting, but it was just a handout that will be provided at that July 20th public hearing.
I'd like to suggest we have another meeting in July and just focus on
Just
the water, wastewater budget and this issue and see what else we might be able to do and what we're going to do with this allocation.
Yeah.
And, maybe I don't know if it would be a week or it'd be 3 weeks.
13 or 27, if it's a Thursday.
Do you think only a week? Does that provide you enough time and to the board to really look at the information? Or do you think moving it to the 27th?
It depends what you're looking for. I mean, the 27th will, at least give us time to hopefully have our automation going.
Yep.
Give us a chance to look at the budget information and ask questions prior to.
Right.
Now, Eric, will the telemetry system, is there a chance that would be back online, a replacement prior to the 27th?
I hope so.
So that might give you some information that would be helpful.
The faster that happens, the better. It's causing a lot of otherwise unnecessary overtime.
That'd be all right with me. Andrea, does that work for you, the 27th? Marilee?
27th,
Yeah.
so that's after our scheduled meeting.
Yeah.
The week after.
Yep.
Yep, that works.
Is that going to work for you, you
Yep.
think?
Yep.
Why don't we do that?
Okay.
And that'll give us, again, I apologize, we haven't really had time to really
Yep.
look at the budget too well, and then we stick you in the hot seat there.
Yep,
And I know
it's
you've
fine.
had some time away, and this way we'll be able to prepare more for that and
Yep,
also
absolutely.
maybe ask some questions on this allocation.
And I think there's just a lot of unknowns right now
Yeah.
because of the issues, that if that extra time provides us some answers to that, or at least a little better tracking method with getting the telemetry system back
Yep.
online, that could be helpful information.
And I think it would be good, to get some kind of a bit of information, more information on the effluent, or the brine, we'll call it the brine, efficiency, and maybe a plan to improve the process, which seems to be logical. Of course, there'll be some costs associated with that, I would guess. And maybe we could test to see if we are within what we expect, or it's a little different, even though it's somewhat variable. It seems like it wouldn't be too hard to test the water for hardness, like too expensive. That's a typical test,
Well, it's
isn't
not
it?
necessarily the hardness you're testing to
Manganese, the iron,
yeah, all the different metals,
that's a standard
the,
test.
The makeup of the hardness, I guess, and the pH, and but it's an array of tests that just add. It's all,
But that way we know whether we're where we expect to be or not.
I think also to keep in mind that when these new wells came online, there wasn't an expectation that this was going to build in a lot of extra capacity. It was actually just meeting the needs
No,
of
totally agree.
replacing the wells that we had to close due to the MTBE. So
Right. We bought the microfiltration system, the filtration system, ultrafiltration?
Nano
Nanofiltration, yeah. With an expectation of a 10% effluent loss. And now we're at 20, actually a little bit more. So, can we fix that?
Yep.
Because there's added cost of the pumping, there's, you
Right.
know, added wastewater.
Right. The chemical addition system is not going to cost, you know, a couple $1,000. The biggest problem is just the logistics of where to put it and how to do it safely. It, you know, requires secondary
I
containment.
totally understand. Yep.
It can't be next to
No.
the caustic because they hate each other.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just details.
I had a wastewater treatment license. I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
So it's unfortunate we didn't design that in to start with, if
Yep.
that's what we needed. But it can be done, a small containment area, a
Yep.
couple of metering pumps and
Yep.
places to sample to see how it's going,
Yep.
if that's what we end up doing. But let's make sure that's what, that design change is appropriate because the conditions have changed than what was expected. Any more questions? Thanks, Eric.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry to put you in the hot seat there.
Thank you, Eric.
Is Mike still here?
He is not, but he said that he talked with you. And
Yes.
so
Okay.
he felt like he was.
So the next item, number 8, is a discussion about there's a requirement to upgrade the Leavenworth Road from Class 4 to Class 3 to extend the length of it. That is part of our zoning requirements. There's been, and I think, Andrea, this has happened before. So then the requirement is that Mike puts that on the permit for the driveway,
Road cut permit?
road cut permit,
Driveway,
thank
yep.
you. And we've gotten some, I think, feedback from the neighborhood to, do we need to do this? And I think Mike has also said, you know, we don't necessarily have to do this, that it may be better off to not at this point, although we may be, you know, we need to address the fact that it is a requirement and then we remove the requirement. It's happened more than once, so perhaps the zoning rules might be looked at. But there's, I think, some reasonable arguments to not require this upgrade. The Select Board has done that in the past. So I'll open it up to questions or clarifications. Andrea?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's actually been a number of times when people have developed on a Class 4 road, and it has not been required to be brought up to a Class 3, not just in this situation on the other end of Leavenworth, but I believe on Levine Hill Road, and I think, I don't, maybe not on Burt Road or Ketchipaw Road. Maybe, is that a class, I don't know if Ketchipaw is Class 3.
There's a portion of Ketchipaw that's a Class 4.
That's Class 4, yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's, you know, I hope we will revisit our road standards anyway, because I think that unnecessarily widening roads only increases the cost for us long-term. And I would suggest that we make that decision to not require that it be brought up to Class 3 standards.
And I think whatever you do moving forward, you just want to make sure you're consistent moving forward as far as whatever the Select Board policy is or what you decide this evening. Just make sure that that's consistent moving forward.
Well, I think I said we should take a look at
Right,
those
absolutely.
zoning requirements, and if, in fact, it's not going to be applied each and every time, the zoning could reflect that. It may be a case by case, even though that's not the ideal situation. Any other thoughts? Go ahead.
Yeah, who's Who are we addressing here? Okay, hi. All of you, yeah.
I think your entire crowd here is Representative Leavenworth.
So was this mentioned at the DRB level?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah?
And the conclusions is they recommended that it didn't happen. We have that paragraph, if you want to see it. How far is the driveway?
Hold on a second. We'll be recognized and we'll have to use the microphone.
No, I just was wondering, how far in is the driveway cut now? To how far in of the Class 4 road are we now are we talking about anyway? I mean, do you know where that cut is? Oh, okay.
My definition of the Class 4 road is that telephone pole.
Yes.
Because your driveway is already, wide.
Yeah.
On the way through
Right.
Cheryl and Mike's driveway.
Right.
So from the pole going up, that's about 40 to 50 feet. And then on the zoning drawing, there's an additional turnaround for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And go ahead and repeat what you said, because people in the audience couldn't hear that.
Oh, I'm sorry. So that depends on the definition of where the Class 4 road begins. If it begins at the telephone pole, then it's about 140 feet or so. And in addition to that, there's a turnaround that's designed on the subdivision drawing. So that would add another 30, 40 feet to it. So we're talking roughly about 200 feet up the road from the telephone pole. So widening the road, I think I walked the Class 4 road a couple times, and it's a beautiful road. It's used mostly by recreational users. I almost feel like putting a wager that people use that road more than the park on Shelburne Farms Road, because we spend a lot of time at the property and we see walkers, bikers, dog walkers, everybody here. And I only see a car or two at the park. So it's a really beautiful section, and the north section is the drier section. It's really beautiful. Has a nice canopy, and if we would widen that road, a lot of trees would have to go out, and it would change the character of that section forever. It would not be the same ever. So, of course, we have an additional cost to upgrade it, and, my wife and I feel that it's an unfair burden for a private family to finance the upgrade of that road. That's probably not a small amount of money. And so here we are. We bought that land close 2 months ago, and we're just waiting to get started with the driveway. And we're hoping for a favorable resolution.
Did you guys, so there were two residents that submitted some information. Actually, one, so Ann Thomas submitted a letter today that I added to Dropbox. And then Mike brought me a letter, I think that was given in 2016 regarding the subdivision, Leavenworth.
Yeah.
So those are both in your Dropbox. Unfortunately, I'm not able to, with the iPad, put it up there for whatever reason tonight. So just want to make sure the select board has those two letters.
And there was one item in there that showed the map, and I think it showed a modification to the plan.
So you have the entire meeting packet also in there that Janos provided.
Yes, we would like to change the curb cut. Right now, the curb cut, the driveway access is probably about 20 feet away from the property line. Sharon, Mike, and I and my wife discussed, and we agreed and came up with a setback agreement, so we could put the driveway closer to their property line. Thank you very much, Cheryl and Mike. That would help us to remove less trees, and if we put the driveway on a 60-degree angle versus a perpendicular, it would require the removal of even less trees. and it would make the access to the property easier. So, you know, we do have a horse trailer that's fairly long, so we'll make it such that fairly large equipment can get on the property. I'm thinking about emergency responders as a fire truck. So if construction vehicles such as, you know, the drill for the well or tractor trailers that bring the material can get up there, I believe that the fire responders will be able to get up there as well.
So if it's okay with the board, I don't know if the board is in agreement to move forward with this, I guess, not sure the right word, to allow the, a exception to the Class 3, which Mike is saying he's okay with. My suggestion would be to have Mike make a formal approval to the modified plan, curb cut, so that it's looked at by the town and making sure, you know, like you say, fire and all that's been considered, and authorize Mike to allow the curb cut plan without the Class 3 upgrade. That might be an approach we could take.
So Mike would just need the direction from the select board
Right.
to the.
So we would like to keep the Class 4 section, and any improvements would happen in the Class 4 section. The turnaround for the plow trucks would continue to be in the same place. Is that what people's expectations are? Yeah, and
Yeah, my suggestion would be Mike would approve the
Yeah.
modified plans. We allow Mike to not require a Class 3 upgrade. We post those plans on the website, so for a week, and unless somebody has some specific requirement that it's not going to work, we have Mike approve that road cut. Does that sound reasonable?
I have one more question, and I prefer to keep it a Class 4 road. My question is, what happens if more people build beyond your driveway in the future? I don't know if that's possible. I'm familiar with the road, but who owns the properties, I have no idea.
the property beyond it's conserved. And then the other next one would be David Carsis that comes in from Charlotte. Oh, sorry, right, Henry Carsis, yeah.
So this is basically the end of developable property, is that? Yes. Okay.
My understanding for the time being anyways, unless further subdivision happens.
What did you say?
So for my understanding for the time being, this is the only subdivision that can happen in that area.
Because it would all be development on a Class 4 road, so it's a 15-acre minimum lot size, and... Right, they don't have enough acres to subdivide. I don't know if Shumways have enough acres to subdivide, but...
Yeah, I understand. It's just,
Right.
you know, looking down the road,
Right.
if somebody else wants to do it, are we, you know, is it going to remain a Class 4 road, or is it going to need to be
Well-
widened for the next people, and who's responsible to pay for it? That's my only concern with this. Then, so,
It is a good question.
But I think that, I mean, the likelihood of that is, I mean, we've done this before where people have developed on a Class 4 road, and there's been situations where they have improved it to a Class 3 road because they wanted to develop it more. It wasn't just a single road, a single lot. So,
but
yeah.
I think everybody knows what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, right now, if next year somebody wanted to develop it, unless we change the zoning rules, it's gonna say, you can't have a road cut until you bring it up to class 3.
Right.
And then there'd be a little battle about who's gonna pay.
That's,
And I think one of the things that we would probably want the DRB to consider when they're thinking about creating this is well, they did do this, kind of the development potential, and part of the infrastructure costs that the town is incurring by encouraging development on these roads that are not really the best places to begin with. So it's a long-term cost for the town that maybe we should convey to the DRB, which I think we have in the past, so.
I'd like to see it stay a class 4 road. I'm just concerned about the next guy. Because they don't want to be stuck with the cost any more than you folks do, but if it's required by the DRB, somebody has to pay for it. So I don't know where we go from here. I mean, if it was all conserved, I wouldn't have an issue with it, but you own land, I'm not sure if you folks own land, and you might want to do something with it. Well, you don't now, but.
Right. But if they did want to do
Well-
land, then that's the cost that they would incur.
Right. Well, is there a contract that we sign with people?
You know, but that'd be the reason I suggest we have Mike approve a curb cut showing it as a class 4 road continuing, and allow the public to, if somebody thinks this is not good for them personally, they could come to us and say so.
And it's not like they're going to, they're actually moving the curb cut, so they're not going to be utilizing much of the class 4 road. So it's not really that they're not paying for it, it's because they're not actually going to be using it.
Yeah, I understand. I'd like it to stay a class 4 road, don't get me wrong. I'm concerned about the next guy, and what else was I concerned with? Oh, I'm concerned that we're kind of going into this blind. We're the select board, we don't really deal with this on a regular basis. It's kind of the DRB's thing. They dive into it and they investigate it, and I'm kind of feeling a little, I mean, I don't know whose head we're gonna go over here, because they've looked at it for at least 3 meetings, and we're just coming into it. I'm just a little uncomfortable, that's all.
Actually, I was sent here by Alex from the DRB. So it would be very unfair to us to be sent around in circles, you know.
You know that's. So I'm confused. So
Still is the same. We don't deal with this all the time.
tell us what you're saying. You know that Alex suggested you come here that this is a way
Absolutely.
to solve your issue.
Exactly. Because it was noted on the final order when the subdivision was taking place. And at that point, even before we purchased the land or made the offer, I had a discussion with Alex. And even back then, he told me that I should approach the select board about this issue, because the select board is the right avenue to overrule what the town
The zoning
foreman-
rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was experienced with John Niles, who was the trustee for the O'Neill property. He also tried to contact the select board.
So when we had the same discussion when we're on the other end of the road, and we have a, I don't know, 100-foot section, I don't know, maybe less, between where the class 3 stops and our driveway entrance, which is on the class 4 section. And at that time, we were told that essentially it was fine to have one residence on a class 4, but if there's ever another one, which is what you're saying, beyond that, then that person would be, again, this is all from my recollection, but that person would be responsible for upgrading to Class 3 up to that first driveway, and then it could remain Class 4 up to the next driveway. So that was my understanding. Is that in here?
Yeah, that was ours.
Okay. Wow, good work.
So the DRB was following their regulations, but ultimately, you know, I read it a while ago. But, and this is from...
This was in the packet too. This was included in your meeting packet as well, wasn't it, the DRB decision? Not the old one, but the DRB decision. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I guess seeing number 2, I'm relatively fine with it. I just would like to see some agreement between neighbors that if somebody owns land behind, you know, beyond that driveway, it's, in my mind, it's not really different than a road
Association.
A road association, something similar to that. I know it's a little different because it's Class 4 road, but it's the same situation. So I don't, I mean, it says we have purview. Number 2 does, so.
Yeah.
I get, if that's the case and we all agree, then that's fine. I just don't want neighbors going at it over this in a couple years. That's all.
That's why we're here.
And you've been very pleasant.
So, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I would make a motion to accept the proposal from the landowners and ask Mike to rewrite the curb cut permit in conformance with the proposal that was submitted.
Second it.
And, you know, again, my recommendation is that that gets
Yes.
posted somewhere that everybody can see it, in case we saw a sketch. I don't know if that's the one Mike's, you know, will approve or not. I assume it is, but that everybody has a chance to comment if there are comments on it. And then that's approval for Mike to move forward with the curb cut permit without the change to Class 3.
So can you submit a revised curb cut permit if it's changed from what Mike reviewed originally? Has it changed at all? If it hasn't changed at all, then that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. And those are public documents. Where would that be stored? Where is that
It's
typically?
in the town administrator
In
office.
the town
Yep.
administrator
Yep.
office, okay. Any more discussion?
And planning and zoning also has copies with the...
Okay,
zoning
so
permits.
copies with planning and zoning. Andrea and Mary Lee, are we all set to,
I'm just trying to look at the road itself, yeah.
I'm sorry?
Just trying to look at it on Google Maps to see where this section is.
Oh, okay. Are we ready to vote, or, yeah? So we have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. The motion's passed. So you'll resubmit that, I guess, get it in Mike's hands, and we'll have him review it, and this allows him to provide the curb cut without the Class 3 upgrade.
Right. Yeah, and if you didn't have any changes to that, then we can just resubmit what you had, and he can change what his Is it? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There it is. Yeah. All day for that. Thank you.
All right, so we'll go back to, from our recess, we'll go to item 9, which is considering approving the amended police services agreement with St. George. We had one, which I believe we reviewed a month ago.
June 8th meeting, I believe.
June 8th meeting. And it was approved. It went to St. George. They requested a few changes. I think we could call them very minor changes. They were in the packet.
It was just some minor changes that their attorney had recommended, and those were highlighted in your packet.
Did everybody?
Yeah, there was just some basic, and moving something around. I think there was moving a little bit. In her email, which is also in your Dropbox,
So, for example, when they talk about the Hinesburg Selectboard or designee, they've added Hinesburg Selectboard or its designee. So they were fairly minor.
One place to another,
yeah,
but left
they
it the same
moved
as
the
I
insurance
understood.
paragraph.
But as far as I can tell, it stayed the same, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, just moved
Yeah.
it. It's placement.
Right.
Are there any, so that's been posted, so if anybody wanted to see it, they could see it in our packet, those changes. Is there any comments about those? No?
It tells me that they read it and,
Paid a lawyer to change it?
yeah, exactly. I mean, I take that as good, that they're engaged in it, so,
Good.
yeah, that's how I interpreted the changes.
Yep.
All right, if we're good to go, if we had a motion to consider approving the amended police services agreement with St. George?
I make a motion that we approve the amended police services agreement with St. George.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Has Chief Koss seen this, I assume?
He has, yes.
Yep.
And so this is, he's been in communication with the town administrator in St. George on a regular basis. So this reads the same for the most part of what you guys approved on June 8th. It's just some minor changes that were highlighted and then changing that insurance paragraph into a different location. So.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye, so it's passed
Need to get your
unanimously.
signatures before
And
you
we'll
guys
need to
leave.
sign that, so we have several things we need to sign.
Is that all of us or just the chair sign?
It has a spot for everybody, so I'm glad we're all here. I'll make sure that happens if you're not here. The next item on the agenda is consider approving the Select Board safety policy. And in discussing with Renee, we've had a safety policy all along. And these are some slight changes recommended by the Safety Committee to the policy.
So this, when the safety committee was active a few years ago, this policy was developed. And it's something that just having the safety committee alone helps with our insurance rates, with workers' comp. So I got the safety committee up and running again. We've had our representative from VLCT Passive that has been present at each of our meetings as we get going. And we've really used the same structure that they had in place before. It worked well. So we, set the agenda for the next meeting. At this next one, we're going to be looking at all of our workers' comp claims, kind of reviewing those, and then we'll start going through each department and making visits to each department and looking at seeing what changes can be made to potentially prevent some of those type of claims. So this safety policy reads very much the same as the one it did before. I believe we just made a change to show that what our meeting dates are now, and where they're on the third Tuesday of each month at 10 o'clock. I think there was one other slight.
Does that coincide with the yoga class?
It's-
Good.
well, let's see, yoga's
Very
it
good.
too. So, anyway, but it's going well. We've got a department head, someone from each department or someone representing each department on the committee, and currently I'm chair and Eric is vice chair, and so it seems to be, based on the feedback from everyone that was on the safety committee but prior, they felt that they had a good process before, so rather than reinventing the wheel, we just modeled it after that same structure, and we kept it going. So I think it'll be in the best interest of the town to have that safety committee going. It'll help us with our insurance rates. So this policy is just another step in that process to have it updated.
I have a question. So understanding the importance of this and all of the benefits that it brings, as some of what you just outlined there, does this take up a lot of time?
I mean, so far, not a lot of time. It takes, we talk about it each meeting, so I have, prior to each meeting, they have the agenda, what we're going to be discussing, and we have a plan for next steps for the meeting following. So far, it's a good structure in
Been
place.
able to hold them to action meetings where you
Yeah,
go in and get something?
so we did end up having to postpone the June meeting just because of all of the craziness and a lot of people being away.
Yeah.
So we have, our next meeting is July 18th.
Yeah.
So.
And it sounds like you'll continue in your administrator report to let us know progress out of this.
Absolutely, yeah.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
So when I looked at it, I was going to make a slight recommendation, but now that I read it, it really, I was thinking, the town administrator doesn't necessarily have to be the one to do this, but really, when I read it, it says the town administrator shall create a safety committee. It doesn't say they have to lead it. And as far as the meetings, it just says monthly, which is how you'd want it, so that you could schedule it anytime you want it, I guess.
Right.
So it seems it's a
We
pretty,
we have a
you know,
consistent pattern, just so people can plan
Sure,
for it. and-
yeah, of course, but you may choose that it's a different time. and-
Absolutely.
Yep.
Based on the makeup of the committee.
Any other comments on this? Can we have a motion to approve the modified safety policy?
Has that been made yet?
No.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the updated select board policy regarding safety, say aye.
Aye?
Aye. No, so the motion has passed.
You should just change the date on the bottom.
Oh,
Oh, you know what, I changed the one that you're going to sign.
Okay.
I saw
Perfect.
that, and I caught that, and
all right, that's
good, thank you.
another thing we have to sign.
Yep.
We're going to have to put more pens in the budget for tonight. The next item, item 11 on the agenda is consider an adoption of municipal bond bank sale and closing documents. These are, we've been working on these for a while for both the, solar farm,
Arrays,
purchasing that,
and
and the town garage.
So they're going out for the 2017 Series 3 Vermont Municipal Bond Bank sale. And so in order for that to happen, we need to get these documents signed, the resolution, and by the select board. There'll be documents for you guys to sign as well as for Missy. And once I get the signatures, I'm going to be delivering these to, or Keith Roberts is going to be picking them up. And then that will get for the bond sale and for closing. And then this money will be available, I believe, after August 2nd, which is typical from this. And
So this is the, I guess, second to last step in this process. The last step is them approving it.
Right.
Going through their formal approval process.
So this is all part of the process. This is what was planned from the beginning. So this is just taking those necessary steps to have the money available to us.
All right, any comments or questions? Yes, Andrea?
Well, what there must be an appendix to this that says what the bond is for. I thought I read that somewhere, because it never says what, that it is for the garage and for the solar.
Right.
But it does reference some appendix somewhere, but I didn't know whether
The loan agreement.
it's
Oh, there it is, it's at the bottom,
the bottom of which one?
the last one.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Was it in Schedule C? Which document was it in?
Let's see, it says Schedule B,
Schedule B?
but it's at the bottom of a document that's very long.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Bond Bank, Town of Hinesburg, 2017 bond resolution and related documents, parentheses 2899129, whatever you call that flat thing, number 1, parentheses PDF. Did you find it? It's all the way at the bottom. Resolution and certificate, but it has a whole bunch of other documents with it. Like maturity schedule and tax certificate. Oh, it's not at the bottom, it's in the middle. Schedule B.
Is it 11C or 11B on our agenda?
That was C.
Yeah, 11C is a really long, oh yeah,
Yeah.
here it is.
What page are you on, Andrew?
It's page, it's Schedule B
Yeah.
of 11C,
Oh, there's a page, so it's...
and it's after the signatures of our signatures, anyway.
On
There aren't
Schedule
page
B.
numbers, I don't see
No,
page
there aren't
numbers.
page numbers, clearly.
So page numbers.
There are
But-
page numbers, but
Oh, yeah, it says
It's
the
page
project.
21, page 21 of 27.
Did you find it right here? I mean, it's all
So
abbreviated
do I
out.
make a motion that we sign?
sure.
Make a motion that we sign all the appropriate documents related to the bond,
The general obligation
general
bond.
obligation bond.
All right, is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Marilee. Any more discussion? We're good? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? There's none. Motion's passed.
You have all that there, Renee, for us to sign tonight?
Yes. Yep.
Perfect.
It's all
No
right
one
here.
leaves.
Yep.
All right. Town administrator report.
So one thing that I was going to talk about in the town administrator report, as you know, we used to have Mike Weisel as our engineer, and we've been discussing using someone consistently, which we have been with Tyler Billingsley from East Engineering. So Tyler has a proposal for an engineering agreement so that he can, instead of having to do individual contracts on a case-by-case basis, we just work from this one agreement moving forward. And so he would have a set hourly rate. He would block off a certain amount of hours for the town, work for the town. And so I have in front of me an agreement that you guys can look at. I can put it in your Dropbox. So for the next meeting, either either the 20th or the 27th or whatever, that you can approve that.
That sounds like.
It's a pretty standard, basic agreement. He said if you guys have any issues, certainly let him know. Even if, moving forward, if you feel like there's some question, if you have any concerns with his work, he'd be happy to address that. You can end it at any time. He's a local engineer that we've been using a lot now, and we've had a lot of very good experience, feeling like we're getting a good service for the cost for the town. So, yeah.
And he mentioned that there would be no travel fee to work on the extension road.
Right.
So.
He even walks to
Charging
it.
him for exercise.
Right,
Yeah.
there you go. But he's, yeah, we've been utilizing him a lot. It's someone that now, if we do this, anyone from the town, and actually, planning and zoning reached out to him, with highways used him. I mean, it's just something, it's someone that we can.
It's a resource.
It's a resource. And his agreement is, he already has this in Richmond. It's very similar to other, it's actually the same type of agreement. So it's very similar to what we had with Mike Weisel. It's basically, he modeled it after that so that he could be our go-to person when we have engineer questions.
So I guess that we'll get it posted
Yep.
to our thing.
Yep,
We can
I
take a
will.
look at it and potentially approve it at the next meeting
Yep.
when we bring it up.
So it was something that Trevor could have approved, so I consulted with him, and he said that it would be good just to run it by you guys so that you can see what's in it. It's a pretty standard one, so just if you'd like to.
What we're
Right.
contracting for, and
You
the
know, if we
amount.
feel
Because, if it's in, which budget does it show up in?
So this would, that, I guess it would.
Professional services.
Professionals.
Might be
So it
split
might be
though with
in
the road
everybody's budget?
a little bit.
We'd have to look and
maybe.
see how we did with Mike Weisel and how that was worked out too. I mean, I don't know what we did in the past.
Well, yeah,
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it'd be the
there's our
same.
answer.
So we have it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
right, but I think it would be good to know if it's high, itemizing it at the time, but how's to know that each department has the ability to.
For professional
utilize the
services. Yeah.
professional services and how we're tracking
Yeah,
it.
that going into next year's budget, Mike would probably budget, and he has right along, I think, a certain amount. Potentially, we might, so. All right, do you have anything else? I mean, I have this invitation to bid on the municipal roads grant.
Yep.
And so, do you want to mention that, or do you want me to?
So I got contacted by someone from the CCRPC regarding the municipal roads grant and aid. And it's a pilot project they're doing. They really feel that Hinesburg could benefit from it. So the letter of intent was yesterday to be due, but they would like to have Hinesburg participate if we want to, and so they're extending that offer to us. So just want to get your feedback.
aware of this
It-
No, I don't know about this. I mean, in general, there was 8 towns that was put in the budget so that we could offer this, the Regional Planning Commission could offer this service to all the rural towns that didn't get in, is it the inventory?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
yep.
yeah. And it's basically all the towns were,
Yeah, so I talked to
doing
Chris Dubin today, and he just, he really felt that Hinesburg could benefit from this, that we're one of the towns that was identified. And so he was encouraging us, if the select board had interest in doing the letter of intent. It doesn't
Bind us.
It doesn't bind us. And certainly I said that Mike Anthony would need to be, he'd need to discuss with
Yeah.
Mike what implications that have, because we have an entire highway crew of 3. And so if there's deadlines that need to be met by, what I'm seeing there was some October deadlines, he said that those can be extended based on, certain situations. So there isn't any binding we aren't bound to anything, but it would get us included in the project.
Opens the door.
It opens that door.
What it does is it then sets us up for being eligible for other grants that are going
Additional
to come
funding.
through the, through both A&R and VTrans
Yeah.
for this kind of work, which, we're going to need a lot of work for
Yep.
some
Linking the different.
re-engineering on Lincoln Hill.
So it looks like the DEC helps to, basically identify hydrologically connected municipal road miles.
Yes.
Um,
A
then-
lot of, and quite a bit of, some of the preliminary work has already been done, because we were ahead of a lot of the towns from other work that's,
And then the Regional Planning Commission, assists municipalities by providing a point of contact, helping develop best management practices, things like that. So it seems an appropriate thing. It says the base offers around maybe 9,200, and we would have a 20% match of 1,800 for just our town. And so that's quite a large project from Winooski, Bolton.
Right.
So does that sound like something we want to at least open the door for?
Like you said, it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
So can I guess we'd need a motion to participate in the Municipal Roads Grant in Aid Pilot Project?
I'll make that motion to submit a letter of intent that we would like to participate.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There's none opposed, so the motion's passed. This is another item we'll have to sign. I think, who has to sign this?
I think this is all of, it can be all of.
Yeah, could be the entire board, and maybe you could sign
As
it
long
here
as there are
too.
at least three.
Okay, so at least three of us. There's another item.
We're all here, so we'll just all do it.
Any more town administrative report? Or you,
It's all I could do to get through this evening, so
Okay.
my mind is not completely clear right now, but.
Can I ask
okay.
a question?
What's that?
Is there any update on union negotiations that you can share?
Actually, yes. Well,
Knowing that you might not be able to share.
not completely confirmed, but that's been an ongoing struggle trying to get the union. I think they have been in transition as far as who their representative is from ASME, the union. And so I thought I had a man named Vinny.
Yeah?
And so I've been communicating with him, setting up some times.
Yep.
And then now I have a different person. I mean, and prior to Vinny, it was a different person.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
I think we have something set up for the end of this month. But once I replied back and wanted confirmation of who the person was, I haven't heard anything again since. So it's,
What's our comfort level in this situation and our employees? Do we know?
I think, from what I'm hearing, I think this should be a pretty straightforward and a smooth process. Actually, our shop steward, he was very comfortable with he tried to get the union to agree to just move forward with me and for our union members to meet with me. And then, once we got our proposal together, then to submit it to them. But they turned that down, but yet haven't been able to come up with a plan. So right now, they are just still going on their last contract, even though technically it expired on June 30th. This is what we've done in the past, is that you continue working on that existing contract until a new one is finalized, so.
Thanks for staying on top of that.
So there we go.
Moving target.
Moving target, but
any other questions specific for Renee? Select Board Forum?
Two items. One is, I was going to bring this up when Eric was here, but I was wondering if our drinking water, the municipal water, is tested for radon. And
I believe it is, but
okay.
that's something we can
Would you
confirm
like to
with
find
him.
out about that?
If you could send me just an
Yeah,
email reminding
okay.
me that would be helpful.
And the other is I'd like to I know that there was a Front Porch Forum post about the mobile home park sale,
Yes.
but if we could post that on our town website, and whether there's some way in which, whether we as individuals go to that meeting, or what, at some point at some point, there a discussion of what our position on it would be. So
Did
I
they
would
get a
like that to be an
location?
agenda item.
Yeah, it was at CVU, and I
Yes.
don't know, the 18th?
Oh, okay.
I believe it's 18th.
Yeah,
We'll check.
but whether we could discuss that as a board.
It wasn't just Front Porch Forum. Lori Ring sent me an email. She had talked to, she's from St. George. She had
Yes.
sent the email to her select board chair, and I sent it to Phil, and he recommended sharing it with everybody. So
Right, but I mean, what I question is that the state didn't send it to us. You know, they sent it to Missy, and they sent it to Bill Lippert, the whole outline of the proposal and everything. And so I'm just questioning, it appears that there is not a role for the town to participate, but I guess I would just like to find out a little bit more about it. And in the end, what happened when this happened with Mountain View, you know, the residents ended up coming to the select board with a representative of Housing Vermont and stuff like that, so.
And to,
But
move
it-
forward with it, yeah.
You know, if we as a board wanted to just learn more about it and
Yeah.
discuss it, I think it would be good for it to be an
And
agenda
this
item
is,
for
the
us.
same owner owns the one in
Yes,
St.
St.
George
George,
and
yes.
Sunset, yeah.
Yes.
And there were some deadlines within, was it a month?
Yes, it's a very short,
very short.
45 days. They have
45
45 days to
days.
say that they have an interest in doing something, and then I think it goes to 120
Yeah,
days.
I remember 120 after that. So is our role to become involved or not involved as we see fit, or is, or
Well,
is?
I guess I would just think it would, if we could have an
Understand the
agenda item
process.
so we could get some information and find out
Yeah.
whether it,
Fair enough.
you know,
I mean, I don't know.
not to make a decision, but just to,
I don't know how many people live in Sunset, but. How
yeah,
many?
think we're on
I
80.
think there's 91 units
There we
or
go,
something.
91.
Okay,
and
so it's-
owned by
yeah.
88 people or
Yeah.
something.
Something like that.
A lot of them.
Substantial.
Yeah,
I mean, it is,
all right. And were those two items?
Those
Yeah.
were the two items I had.
Does anybody else have anything?
I've had a couple people ask me about the water allocation committee, which we've agreed to set
Right.
up.
Yeah.
But I think after hearing Eric tonight, we've got a few questions that need to
Yeah.
be answered before we even
Absolutely.
Right.
can get started at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that's why that's been delayed.
Yeah.
Because of all of these unanswered questions. Yeah.
And on a happy note, I would like to say that I visited the Bissonnet Field last night.
And-
If anybody's interested to see how it's going, take a stroll over there now.
It's looking
I mean,
good.
it's not
It's-
flooded.
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, so
No.
there's something happening over there?
The grass is growing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's looking really,
Actually there last week.
it's looking really good.
Great.
Yeah, it'll be
good.
better. I've got,
Once there's a field on.
yeah, it's,
So at
looks
least
really good.
the design and construction appear to be
Shedding water.
satisfied, yeah, right.
Construction is,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good.
so
Good to
far,
hear.
very good. And when he ever gets to finish up the drainage aspect of it, it'll even be better, so, yeah.
Good.
Oh, I know, in preparation for the public meeting on the wastewater permit,
Yes.
could we have the sheet of what our actuals are compared to what they have listed in the permit?
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly, yeah, let me know what it is you're looking for. We can
Okay.
get that. Also, Wayne Elliott reached out to me from Aldrich and Elliott, and he's going to be present that night.
Okay.
Because he has some concerns of some of the things that are in that permit, so he'll be there to speak on behalf of the town and ask questions and also answer some questions as well, so.
And the state will be doing
The state will be doing the
Right.
public hearing, yes, that's done
So is
by-
that actually their public hearing?
It
Or is
is,
it ours?
it's
is
their public
their-
hearing. They needed a time, a date to schedule. Eric was away at the time. not knowing how many people might be interested in this, I thought that our evening meetings are what people are aware of, so rather than doing a daytime one, I thought the evening would
That's a good time, yeah.
give people more of an opportunity to be present, if they want to be present, and then they can also provide feedback, written feedback as well. But, so I thought our select board meeting time would be a time to get
So the
people-
application was submitted.
Yes.
The town submitted, Eric, you submitted the application.
That was, I mean, that is the waste, those are the meetings that have been taking place between the town and DEC
Yeah.
for quite some time now.
yeah.
Yes.
Right,
And
but
so
there was an actual application.
This is their draft, this is the permit,
Right,
yes.
so the
Yeah.
application was made, this is their draft permit. They're
Yeah.
required to hold a public hearing
Right,
on this draft permit.
right, yeah.
It
so
might
it's
be
part of the
good,
process.
and I would be willing to try to meet with Eric and Aldridge
Yep.
ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just sort of say, hey, here it is, what are the implications here?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
No,
so we'll try to do that,
And
yeah.
I told Wayne we would absolutely, appreciate his feedback and assistance
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah.
So,
I haven't
Yeah,
even
'cause-
looked at it, so
right.
what are the implications?
right,
Yeah,
I mean, I think what we have to do is just go back and read the final report.
right.
But
against the permit, yeah.
the final report that Aldrich and Elliott did for us, but we basically just applied for our existing permit.
I mean, this is something that we, and I don't have all the information on this, but this is something that these are changes that had to be, that were coming based on, the phosphorus and all of that.
Right,
And
but
our-
we're only applying for the 250. We're not, we didn't, because that was one of the questions was, should we apply for the 308?
Right,
And so a decision was made that we're just applying to, we have to renew our permit because
Right,
it was
so
going to
this
be
is really
due,
part of the
but it was
renewal.
just going to be for the 250.
yeah. So, these are all things that we want to look at and
Mm-hmm.
ask, and that's what Aldrich and Elliott is also going to be looking at, all of this, because he did call and he did have concerns with
Okay.
some of that was in
Okay.
there, so
Yeah.
he's,
Is this on
he's
July
going to be
20th?
present. On July 20th, yep. Starting at 7 o'clock.
And that will take up the whole time of our
That,
meeting?
it's a 2-hour window that they do for their public hearings, so,
All right. So I'll try to meet with them
okay.
and get an idea on what the implications are and share those at least
Yeah.
with the select board.
All right.
We had a spectacular 4th of July.
Yeah.
Tremendous amount of efforts went into it by everybody from rec.
Yeah.
Started with the Hilly Hobby Race the day before. They put on that little parade, which I'm sure was effortless. Fireworks were spectacular. Balloon sales were great. And in particular, I want to call out an appreciative thanks to fire, EMT, police on a particularly stressful day for a lot of different reasons. But when you open up the town and host a party, it puts all kinds of stresses on them, and I want them to know they're appreciated,
Yeah.
especially this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also the library book sale was very
And the book
successful.
sale, that's right, I
Actually,
forgot about that
I
too.
believe made $900 more than last year.
Yeah.
I was over there today, they said they made over $2,000
Yeah,
total.
yeah. So that was success all the way around. on
Become
that
an
part.
annual way to restock my reading material because they have such...
novels for the
All right. All right, anything else with Select Board forum? So we will do the next two items, approve the minutes from June 22nd. We'll consider approving the warrants and then potentially go into executive session to just talk about the Town Administrator Search Committee briefly.
Correct.
So the next item is approving the minutes from June 22nd. There was a copy in the packet. Do I have a
Make a
motion?
motion to approve the minutes of June 22nd with any amendments, corrections.
Is there a second? I had no specific changes myself or corrections. Does anybody else have any? Are we ready to move on that? So all those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so that's passed. And last, consider, do I have a motion to approve the warrants?
I'll make that motion for you.
And a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
I assume they're right there?
Yep.
Yep, good. I'll get them after you.
Yeah. All those in favor of approving the warrants, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so that's passed. So we will consider a motion to move into executive session. Hold up, I'm going to pull up the official.
So I have some language I wrote out.
Oh, I have it here.
Oh, do you?
Do you have it there?
Well, I just wrote something out.
Oh, well, we got
See if
the
it
official.
matches.
Yeah, we got the official here. Hold it.
Just modeled it off of what we've done in the past.
Hold it. So we consider going into executive session on that. And this would be required to discuss the hiring of the new town administrator and sharing information from the town administrator search committee.
Correct.
And
It's a personnel matter, right?
personnel matter. So I would like to consider a motion to find that the premature general public disclosure would place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage with pending or probable civil, or, that's not right. Yeah.
I had with
You
regards
had
to
it, right.
hiring of our next town administrator.
Okay,
Is the language I wrote.
is there a motion? Is that your
I'll
motion?
make that motion, yeah.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There's none, so it's passed.
And then I have language for the second, if that's
Okay,
helpful
go ahead,
for you.
thank you, yes.
I make a motion for the board to go into executive session per 1 VSA, Section 313A3, for the purpose of discussing the employment process for our next town administrator.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so the motion's passed. So we will go into executive session. If there are any actions we will come out of executive session. We'll make those, and I will send those to you to be included in the minutes. All right.
We could meet here